winning the World's Championship in 1986. They did it with defense. They did it with power. They did it with leadership. And of course, they did it with great pitching as always, as they won the National League's Eastern Division and persevered through a tough playoff and World Series to become the world champions of baseball. And now they try to blend all those elements once again in defense of their World Championship beginning today against the Pittsburgh Pirates on opening day 87 right here on WOR-TV. Live from Shea Stadium in New York, WOR-TV presents New York Mets baseball as this afternoon the Mets open the 1987 season against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mets Baseball 87 is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan, who invites you to test drive the Go Anywhere Pathfinder at your Nissan dealer now. By 9X Yellow Pages. It's the one you always had. It's the only one you need. By the American Express card. Don't leave home without it. And by the Daily News, New York's hometown newspaper. Pitching for the Pittsburgh Pirates on opening day today, rookie left-hander Bob Patterson, who last year with the Bucks was 2-3 with a 4.95 ERA. And on the mound for the Mets, left-hander Bob Ojeda, 18-5 in 1986 with an ERA of 2.57.
And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim McCarver along with Steve Zabriskie, Ralph Kiner, and Rusty Staub. Ralph Kiner, of course, is on the field. He will be part of the introductions of the players on both sides and part of the one of the distributors of the World Championship rings. Of course, last year, October 22nd, the New York Mets winning the World Championship, their second in their 25-year history. This is their 26th opening day. They're 15-10 in opening day. All the stats and stories coming up, I suppose. And, Steve, I guess the Mets this year didn't expect last year to be opening the season with a certain amount of duress overhanging and hanging over this ball club.
Well, it was 154 days ago that Jesse Orosco set, I guess, a Major League record for the glove toss after he got the final out. And now the Mets have ended what I guess you could call a winter of discontent because of the problems, particularly the last 2 weeks of spring training. And the three guys that are not with the ball club to open the season that they thought and hoped would be here are all not here for non-baseball reasons. Of course, Dave Magadan, the fine rookie hitter who was expected to at least challenge at third base with Howard Johnson, had to have a lymph node removed from under his right arm, and he's on the disabled list. Then, of course, Roger McDowell with a hernia and having to be operated on during the final 10 days of spring training. And Roger's doing well, but won't be back for a while. And the most devastating and certainly shockingest blow of all, Dwight Gooden's cocaine problem, testing positive in spring training and having to enter the Smithers Institute here in New York. Doc made a mistake. And not unlike, unfortunately, a lot of other young men his age in the country who have made a similar mistake. And he's going to suffer for that, not only currently, but for quite a while to come. The big question is, how much is the ball club going to suffer opening the 87 season without he and the other two players?
Well, certainly they'll be suffering for the month of April. We'll be back with all the festivities before the start of today's ball game right after this word from Budweiser. The Pittsburgh Pirates, as the fans continue to pour into Shea here for opening day, overcast skies, but it appears that this ball game will be played. And as I said, prior to the Pittsburgh Pirates players being announced, quite a tribute, Steve Zabriskie, to Jackie Robinson, celebrating his 40th debut, anniversary, I should say, of playing in the major leagues. There's Jackie's wife, Rachel. What a gracious person she is.
Well, that number 42, of course, emblematic of the number Jackie Robinson wore, and that ceremoniously placed at second base. His position, of course, and this is the anniversary of the 1947 season, 40 years ago, when Jackie Roosevelt Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball, and that historic day and season will be remembered all season long this year throughout the major leagues, tributed to Jackie Robinson this year.
Now let's go down to the field. Our colleagues Ralph Kiner and Bob Murphy for the introduction of the Mets players and the presentation of the World Championship rings.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's meet the 1987, the 1986 World Championship Ball Club, the New York Mets. First, will you join me as we welcome the newest members of the New York Mets. Number 48, left-handed pitcher Randy Myers. Acquired very recently from Kansas City in a trade, number 44, pitcher David Cone. Acquired from the San Diego Padres this winter, number 31, pitcher Gene Walter.
Of course, the players first introduced
number 33,
were not members of the World Championship
catcher
team.
Barry Lyons.
Obviously will not be given rings.
Number 7, catcher Clint Hurdle. Number 25, infielder Al Pedrique. Number 26, pitcher Terry Leach. Acquired from San Diego this winter, number 22, left fielder Kevin
did not stand pat. They added this fellow, among others, in an effort to improve on last season.
Kevin McReynolds. Kevin will probably be a vital cog in the Mets machine this year because he will stabilize the Mets lineup against left-handed pitching.
And now,
and be able to give Darryl Strawberry some support in the lineup, perhaps, that he has not had today, at least on a consistent basis.
Of something every Major League ball player has hopes of receiving, a championship ring. On the table at home plate are the World Championship rings, the World Championship trophy, the National League Championship trophy, and the World Championship pennant. And here to make the presentation, in his first full season as president of the National League, won't you welcome A. Bartlett Giamatti. The owners of the New York Mets, Nelson Doubleday and Fred Wilpon.
There's Fred Wilpon in the foreground.
And the executive
Nelson
vice
Doubleday,
president
the
and
partners
general manager
of the New York Mets.
Frank
Next to them, Frank Cashin, the general manager.
And now, the members of the 1986 World Champion New York Mets to receive their World Championship ring. Beginning his fourth year as manager of the Mets, number 5, Davy Johnson.
All Davy Johnson has done is win more games in the last 3 seasons than any other manager in Major League Baseball, and of course culminating that 3rd season with a World Championship.
Davey, of course, no stranger to World Championship rings either.
The equipment manager, Charlie
Several
Samuels.
with the Baltimore Oriole organization. Davey might be the only one who can wear his during the game today, however.
Trainer, Steve Garland.
I'll tell you, last night, Tim and Steve, I mentioned that with 44 wins this year, as soon as he reaches that 44th win, Davy Johnson's going to be the winningest Met manager in the history of the ball club. So that's
Bob Sykes.
some group of wins for such a short period of time.
Rusty Staub had one chance to play in the World Series back in 1973.
Sam Perlazo.
Were it not for that one game out in Oakland, you would have had a World Championship ring, right, Russ?
Well, it's going to be nice to
And the
participate in
coaches,
some way, as we all are, with this
all-time Mets favorite.
wonderful
Number
night they're going to have
23,
tomorrow night, giving some of the
Buddy
people in the
Harrelson.
organization these World Championship rings. But it's always great when you're on the field, involved, to be able to win a World Series ring. Obviously, the National League Championship ring is something I have worn proudly for a long period of time.
The hitting coach of the New York Mets, number 28, Bill Robinson.
I think we might add that the uniformed personnel are the only ones receiving their
pitching
rings
coach, number
this
30,
afternoon.
Mel
There are over
Stottlemyre.
200 of the World Series Championship rings given to scouts, players, of course, coaches, minor league managers,
The catching
those who have
coach, number
participated
51,
in the
Vern
organization.
Hochschild.
And not all organizations do that, Steve.
No, they don't, and we are very
And
pleased
now
and
the
proud
1986 World
to
Champion.
learn that we too will be receiving rings from the ball club.
Proud indeed.
Vern Hochschild receiving
He
his
won 18,
6th
he lost
championship
5.
ring in his
He's
long
your opening
career.
day pitcher
Remarkable.
today,
Isn't that
number
amazing?
19,
Telling you.
Bob Ojeda.
Bobby Ojeda, the starting pitcher in today's ball game,
Bobby
the
Ojeda
first player to
will be
receive
going
his
down to
ring.
the
And for
bullpen to
obvious
start
reasons,
warming
he will
up.
go down to the bullpen to warm up.
His 10th inning heroics in Game 6 of the World Series.
Kiss for good
gave
luck,
the
huh?
Mets a come-from-behind victory to tie the series. You're right. Number 1, Mookie Wilson.
A. Bartlett Giamatti, the successor of Chub Feeney.
His
Chubb,
play
after
was
many,
so
many
smooth
years of
in
meritorious
139
service,
games at
has
shortstop.
retired from his
Number
position
3,
as
Rafael
National League
Santana.
president.
His 2-run 9th inning homer in Game 3.
And there
of
is a
the playoffs.
close-up look
Gave
at the
Mets
World
a
Championship ring that the
come-from-behind
players are
win.
receiving.
Number 4, center fielder Lynn Dykstra.
I guess instead of diamonds in Len Dykstra's ring, they put nails in it, huh?
A remarkable player.
Instead of hard as nails now, maybe he'll be hard as diamonds.
333 in the World Series. Number 6, Wally Backman.
What a year Wally Backman had, and also what a series. And Wally will not be in the lineup today, as with a left-hander going for Pittsburgh.
His
Davey
12th
Johnson
inning
is
game-winning
platooning
hit in
again
Game
this year,
5
he and
of the
Tim Tuffle.
LCS. Enabled the
And I'll
Mets
bet you a
to
few of the
win
guys that are
game
sitting on the bench today
Number
during the
8,
game may have
the
to,
catcher,
if they're called
Gary
on for
Carter.
duty, pull that ring off and let somebody hold it for them.
That's right. Gary Carter, after all of those years in Montreal, flirting with the championship, finally
In his
reaching
final
the
19
promised land
starts of the year,
after 2 years with
he
the
batted
Mets.
a sizzling .296. Number 11, second baseman Tim Tuffle. He posted a 2.37 ERA in his last 23 starts. He struck out 184. Number 12, Ron Darling.
Ron, the starting pitcher on Thursday, which will be opening day 2, and he has become the darling
He
of
set
New
a
York City, has he
championship
not?
series mark with 5 pinch
And
hit
for those of
times
you who
at
were not
bat.
aware and had
He's
heard in
back
spring
home, number
training of the
13,
premature birth of
Lee
he and
Mazzilli.
Tony's son, Tyler Christian is doing great and is home from the hospital, and everybody's just fine. And that's probably the most important thing to Ronnie right
In his
now.
final
Ronnie told me
14
before the
outings
game he
of
was
the year,
eating like a horse, so he's healthy.
6.4
On his
ERA.
way up.
Number 15, pitcher Rick Aguilera.
Lee Mazzilli. Now there's a great story, Steve. Aguilera there, but Lee had received his ring. Big contribution in
He led
games
the
6
National
and
League
7 of the
fielding
World
last
Series.
year. He won his 9th
I
straight
don't think
gold
anybody's
glove.
any prouder than
Number
Mazzilli.
17,
Of course, Lee was here when the
Keith
Mets had
Hernandez.
very little hope of being in the postseason.
And speaking of hope, since 1983, the hopes of this ball club have ridden on the shoulders of number 17 in large part.
Keith, of course, had received a ring after the 82 season when the Cardinals won it.
More homers and steal 20 or more bases at each of the last 3 years. Number 18, Darryl Strawberry.
Darryl Strawberry says he is dedicating this season to Dwight Gooden and to his son, Darryl Jr. And Darryl says that he will be wearing Dwight Gooden's baseball pants
Number 20,
on the field as part of his tribute to Doc.
Well, those are big pants to fill, I'll tell you that. We have no idea when Gooden will be back in uniform, and the Mets are obviously, as we've said during our spring broadcast, more concerned with the person than they are in trying to get him back and winning ball games. And we wish Doc the very, very best.
He set a club record with 75 appearances. He had 5 shutout innings in Game 6.
Doug Sisk, of course, sent down after last spring training and recalled after 5 weeks of the season. Roger McDowell. What a great story that is.
A few years ago, there were a lot of people who felt that Roger McDowell would never again throw a baseball for a living. He had such a tremendous problem with his elbow and such a severe operation. In just a few short years, he's become one of the best relievers in the game, along with Jesse Orosco. And he, of course, will be missed the early part of this season as well.
He finished last
Roger
year with
McDowell
a career-high
under
16 wins.
Going surgery last week for a hernia problem.
Number 50, Sid Fernandez.
Jesse Orosco, of course, the last pitch striking out Marty Barrett. And here's Sid Fernandez. What a vital cog he was, Rusty, in that last ball game, inserted by Davy Johnson in the 4th inning.
Well, Sidney handled himself about as good as you could. If anything excited the entire team and all the fans in Shea Stadium was the way Sid came out and started striking out Boston Red Sox. I think that's the one thing that got everybody going, got some adrenaline flowing, and was one of the keys to the Mets winning Game 7.
Well, Ralph Kiner has worked his way back up, and you will hear from Ralph right after this word from Bud Light. Shea presented the traditional good luck floral piece to Davy Johnson, and now there's the floral piece presented by Bill Shea, after whom this stadium was named. Frank Cashin and Davy Johnson now delivering to the color guard the World Championship flag.
And I thought Davy had a great remark. He said, on behalf of the best team in baseball, I want to accept this for you, the best fans in baseball.
That's an awfully proud walk out there right now. A lot of years of work and determination have gone into Frank Cashin and Davy Johnson being able to make this wonderful walkout.
And Rusty, you returning to this ball club after some years in Detroit, after leaving the Mets in the middle 70s, that'd be really a proud thing for you to go through too, huh?
It was, Tim. People have asked me all kinds of things about how I felt not being a part of the team and being on the field when they won the World Series. I said, very truthfully, if you can get more excited and feel more elation than I did being a part of what it was, I don't know how it could possibly be. I welled up inside as much as anybody possibly can. It was just one of the most exciting things that ever happened to me in my life.
One of the ironies, I guess, of the whole thing is that back in 1969, when the Mets won their first World Championship, it was Davy Johnson who flied out for the Baltimore Orioles to end that final game. And now here, these many years later, 18 years later, it's Davy Johnson who, as manager of the New York Mets, wins the World Championship pennant. And the Mets, for the second time, become title holders.
And they won the World Championship in as dramatic a fashion as you can possibly do it.
Certainly more dramatic than in '69 when they, although they were somewhat of a surprise, and after losing the first game, came back to sweep the next 4.
With all the great writers in the world, if they would have come up with a book and said that it could possibly happen like that, people would have raised their hands as they did last night. And they would have never believed it.
When this banner does appear above that center field fence, you can expect a deafening cheer from this sellout crowd.
You know, as a hitter, I've always wondered why, when they're going to fly a flag in dead center field, they always make it white. You know, hitters are so temperamental when it comes to certain things.
Yeah, but that's because pitchers make the flags.
It must be.
They have more pull with the flag makers than hitters do.
They must be having a problem because the anticipation has waned and turned a little bit to apprehension.
Gary Carter with the eyes of one waiting for the Hindenburg to go up.
People talk about money all the time, folks, and they talk about how, you know, with all this money in the game, some things aren't the same. I promise you that ring on the finger and this flag going up out there means as much to all those players as all the money they've accumulated. Maybe not
Guaranteed.
quite everything, but I'll guarantee it's pretty close.
Yes, sir.
You can take a lot of things away from people, but you can never take that away, and there it goes. And you can bet these fans are as proud as the players. It's been a long time.
Been a long time, but such a short period of time since the Doubleday group took over this ball club. And they did not take over a strong organization, and that's an understatement. I know, Steve, you and I joined this organization in 1983, and how far have they come since then?
It is amazing. And the balloons are now released as well. Much has been stated about and written about the fact that when Nelson Doubleday and Fred Wilpon acquired the ball club, not only were they not winners at the big league level, but they virtually had no farm system whatsoever. And they have not only built the major league club into a world champion, they have developed the best minor league system in the game. And it has been that way for the last number of years, and that's the main reason why people expect the Mets to stay on top. Because they have so much depth and they're developing such good talent that they just don't show any indications of weakening anywhere. And you add to that the fact that they did so much in an effort to, again, strengthen the ball club during the offseason, even after winning the championship. And even with the problems this spring, things have to bode fairly well for the 87 season for them.
But it's a lot tougher to stay there than it is to get there. And in about 12 minutes, the Mets will start that journey in trying to get there. Now for our national anthem here on the opening day of the 1987 Mets season. Let's go to Glenn Close, the lovely actress on the field.
Please welcome Glenn Close.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home
1:37 game time, and the minutes count down to a precious few. We'll be back right after this word from Burger King. Leland and Davy Johnson at home plate, and his 26th year with the New York Mets, and what a thrill it had to have been last year winning the World Series. And as we promised, here's Ralph Kiner. Ralphie?
All right, Tim McCarver, and certainly a great thrill watching the opening day ceremonies and seeing that World Championship pennant go up on the flagpole, seeing the scenes of the victories of last year, and seeing this great crowd in hand for the first game of this season. Mets have a record of 15-10 in opening day games. They lost their first 8 straight opening games. Their first win was over the Pirates back in 1970. Then they won 9 straight, 1975 through 1983, to tie an all-time record. And here again, they're going for number 27. And throwing out the first ball, the executive Frank Cashin. Beside him, his lovely wife, Jean Cashin. Not too many times that a general manager or executive vice president throws out a ball for the opening day ceremony. Certainly this man deserves all the acclaim he can get for what he's done in 7 years here with the Mets.
As Nelson Doubleday said, today we're making an exception for the contributions that Frank Cashin has made to the Mets since 1980, the deals that he has made, and as Steve Zabriskie said, alluding to the farm system, marvelous prospects coming out of that farm system. And equally as important, Ralph, if you don't bring them up to the major leagues, you get them ready to be traded, and traded for talent just like Kevin McReynolds and Gene Walter from the San Diego Padres.
And just like what they did to get Gary Carter from the Montreal Expos. We'll be back. Right now, though, a word from your Lincoln Mercury dealers. And Frank Cashin, who has had the longest reign of any general manager in Mets history, will throw out the first ball. We're waiting for that event to take place. Mets throwing on the sidelines, and the Mets opening up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Last year they opened the season in Pittsburgh and won the ball game behind Dwight Gooden. Mets have won 15 out of their last 17 times on opening day. And the Mets going today with the same lineup they used last year against left-hand pitching, as the Mets will be facing the left-hander Bob Patterson.
And of course, the Mets had such success against the Pirates last year. They were 9-0 here at Shea Stadium, and they won 8 of 9 meetings at Three Rivers in Pittsburgh. 17 out of 18 games, the Mets beat the Pirates last year.
And no team has ever swept a 18-game set since they've gone to divisional play. Right now, here's a word from Budweiser. Benjamin Ward, the police commissioner, along with him, Mayor Koch, Nelson Doubleday, Fred Wilpon, as we get set for the Pirates' 101st opening day game. They are 54-46 in their first 100 seasons. Of those first 100 ball games, 81 of their games have been played on the road. Only 19 have been played in Pittsburgh.
Maybe they're making them pay for Pittsburgh pirating players.
I guess that's right, because that's how they got their name, pirating players from the other league. You got a shot of Bob Patterson warming up in the bullpen. He becomes the 3rd rookie pitcher to start a Pirate opener. Pete Daniels was the Pirate starter back in 1980. And Preacher Rowe, who was such a great pitcher for Brooklyn, gave up 7 hits in the complete game loss to St. Louis in 1944 on opening day. Now the New York Mets have taken the field. Pirates will open up their season at home on Friday when they take on the St. Louis Cardinals. And that'll be a night opener. Pittsburgh playing the first night opening game ever against the St. Louis Cardinals. I was a part of that team. Used to open all the time in the daytime, and back about 1950 they had the first night opener. Now, it's not unusual for teams to open at night.
Even in the World Series.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's going to be interesting when they start cutting that one up a little bit. Whether they should play all the games at night in the World Series.
The owners of the New York Mets, we are making an exception. An exception for an exceptional...
So the announcement that Frank Cashin will throw out the first ball over the PA system.
There are many people.
And right next to him, Gene Cashin, his wife.
So the Mets, 1986 World Championship year.
He's getting an awful lot of TV time out of this, isn't he?
He certainly is. And a man who's won a world championship in 2 leagues kind of deserves that TV
I guess
time.
so. Of course, he was with the Baltimore Orioles in their heyday, and he was the general manager when the Mets beat the Orioles in one of the biggest upsets in baseball history back in 1969 in that World Series. Frank doesn't want to talk about that. Mets losing the first game of that World Series and then winning the next 4. Their other World Championships. So Frank throws out the first ball. Frank likes to play golf and also plays a lot of tennis, so he's in pretty good shape for this sort of exercise.
Yeah, but you criticized his arm last night at the welcome home dinner.
Well, that was different.
He got it to Gary Carter.
Now they got me on record right here. I got to say something nice. So for the Mets, the defense will consist of Keith Hernandez at first base, Tim Tuffle playing second base, Rafael Santana at shortstop. At third base, Howard Johnson. Out in left field, Kevin McReynolds. In center field, Mookie Wilson. And in right field, Darryl Strawberry. The catcher, Gary Carter. And the pitcher, Bob Ojeda. Bob, with a record of 18-5 last year, the best winning percentage in the National League, an earned run average of 2.59. That was second in the National League. Walked just 52 last year, struck out 148, gave up 185 hits in 217 and 1/3 innings. Bob Ojeda on the mound for the Mets, his first opening day start.
And the lineup for the Pirates, Barry Bonds, the center fielder, leading off. Junior Ortiz, the catcher, batting second. Johnny Ray at second base, hitting third. Bobby Bonilla, the left fielder, batting fourth. Andy Van Slyke, a recent acquisition from the Cardinals, hitting fifth. Third baseman Jim Morrison, batting sixth. Sid Bream, the first baseman, hitting seventh. Rafael Belliard, the shortstop, hitting eighth. And Bob Patterson on the mound, batting ninth.
So Barry Bonds, the son of Bobby Bonds, to lead it off. Bobby Bonds, a great hitter in the National League. And Barry trying to follow in his footsteps. Last year he hit .223 with 16 home runs, 48 RBIs. His 16 home runs, more than any other rookie. And he had 36 stolen bases. So he, like his dad, a very, very fast runner. And the first pitch of the season for the New York Mets, it's ball one. Bonds this spring hit .242 with 5 home runs, 15 runs batted in, and the strike call. His 5 home runs, tying for the club lead in spring training with Jim Morrison. And just missing with a breaking ball and a count 2 balls and 1 strike. Ojeda, well, I said this is his first season opener. He did have one when he was 12 years old back in 1970 when he opened for the Redlegs of Visalia.
Visalia Redlegs, how about that? His first opening day start since then. That's great.
That year his team was 14-0.
I remember that.
That was a good year, huh? This ball hit high in the air and playable. Gary Carter. And the first out of the season. Picked up by the New York Mets. Their first season out. Of course, there were games played yesterday. In the National League, Cincinnati defeated Montreal 11-5. Eric Davis went 3 for 3 with a home run. Had 2 stolen bases. San Francisco beat San Diego 4-3, and Houston defeated the Dodgers 4-3. Now the batter will be a former Met, Junior Ortiz, who hit .336 last year. No home runs, 14 RBIs. He didn't see a whole lot of action with Tony Pena doing most of the catching.
Chances of Junior pulling a ball very slim.
Pulls a little more than he used to, though.
A little bit stronger.
There it is, out the other way. Ortiz, who batted .308 this spring, flies out the right, 2 men away.
Even though a hitter may improve in his strength and his top hand as his years progress, that's a bad combination for as far as pulling the ball, with Ortiz hitting against Ojeda. Ojeda keeping the ball away and Ortiz going the other way most of the time.
Now the batter will be Johnny Ray. Had a fine year last year, hitting .301, 7 home runs, 73 runs batted in. Johnny Ray, a switch hitter and a better hitter from the left-hand side of the plate. And he takes the strike. Ray this spring hit .302 with 1 home run, 10 runs batted in. Tough man to strike out. A year ago, he was the toughest in the league to strike out. Last year, he was the 4th toughest.
And he struck out only 2 times in 74 at-bats in spring training.
1-1 the count as Ojeda, with a record of 62 and 44 lifetime, just does miss with that change of pace, which really does look like a screwball. He says it's not a screwball, but it reacts like one. Moves away from a right-hand batter and down. Speed pitch. He can't 2-2. Johnny Ray moving into that 3rd spot in the batting order as you look at Jim Leyland, the manager of the Pirates, his 2nd year. Just did miss, and a full count of 3-2. Ojeda 4-0 against the Pirates last year. And this ball fouled off, so the count will stay at 3 balls, 2 strikes. On deck batter, Bobby Bonilla. And Davy Johnson, the manager of the Mets. He has won more games in his 3 years with the Mets than any manager in the major leagues. And the fastball that time fouled off. Count remains at 3 balls and 2 strikes. And a full house here at Shea Stadium. Beautiful sight.
Not a big surprise either.
No surprise at all. It was sold out about 2 months ago. There are seats available for the next game. There's a base hit to right field as Johnny Ray stays alive by fouling off 2 and then hitting the ball to right field for a base hit. We had the first hit of the game.
That's why Johnny Ray hits .300 and has a lifetime average right around .290, because he can foul off the good pitches, make contact, and to put into play in a good position for a base hit on another tough pitch. Those are 3 tough pitches by Ojeda. He fouled off 2, as you said, and then got the base hit to right.
Bobby Bonilla hit .240 for the Pirates last year with 1 home run, 17 runs batted in. Also was with the White Sox, where he hit .269 in 75 games. This spring he hit .394 with 2 home runs and 20 RBIs. Led the club in runs batted in spring training. 2-0 the count. Johnny Ray was 6 stolen bases last year, the runner at first. This ball hit out to right. It'll be a base hit. Strawberry fields the wet baseball and gets it back into the shortstop, and the Pirates now have runners at 1st and 3rd on base hits by Johnny Ray and Bobby Bonilla.
The Pirates right fielder, number 7.
A little cue shot by Bonilla on the 2-0 changeup after Johnny Ray hit a ball off the fist, and this often happens early in the year when it's cold. Hitters' bats are too quick, and they hit a lot of balls off the end of the bat. Junior Ortiz did that when he flied to right.
And that will bring up Andy Van Slyke, the newcomer. Van Slyke hit .270 for the Cardinals last year with 13 home runs and 61 runs batted in. And he did that in spite of the fact that he did not hit left-hand pitching. He's had only 1 home run career-wise against left-hand pitchers. And he has a lifetime average of 195 against left-hand pitching.
And he hit his lifetime average last year against left-handers, 195. But you know, Ralph, guys leave spring training, even though spring training was cooler than normal in Florida this year, and they come up here in this cold weather, and man, you feel like Godzilla, don't you?
You feel strong.
Strong as a bull.
And the A good breaking ball by Ojeda, freezing Andy Van Slyke. Van Slyke in the Tony Pena deal. And it's looped on the left field line and curving foul. Pirates going the other way against Ojeda.
Yeah, they've done it. They've done it. Everybody's done it, really. Barry Bonds popping out to Carter in foul territory, and then everybody else going the other way. And a hitter's timing. We mentioned the strength factor. Plus, you're nervous. You're a little quicker. There's a lot of timing to hitting, and it's tough to have good timing in the early going.
You know, even though you're a veteran of Major League play, that opening day is a nervous day.
It is. It really is. And if you weren't nervous, or at least a little nervous, you wouldn't be human.
Something's wrong.
That's right.
You don't have anything. Your elevator doesn't go to the top. 2 strikes to count to Andy Van Slyke. And that one just did miss. Home plate umpire Billy Williams almost started that right arm up.
Watch Billy Williams, the home plate umpire. Watch the right side there. We mentioned hitters are too strong. Whoops. Sometimes that can be said for umpires, too.
1-2. Struck him out. So Bob Ojeda picks up his first strikeout. It comes with runners at first and third as Pittsburgh leaves 2 on 2 hits. And the score after 1/2 inning, the Pirates nothing, the Mets coming up. Now here's a word from the good old guys. 3, an earned run average of 4.95. Walked 5, struck out 20, gave up 49 hits in 36 in the 3rd innings last year for Pittsburgh. Bob Patterson on the mound.
And the lineup for the Mets, Mookie Wilson, the center fielder, leading off, followed by Tim Tuffle, the second baseman. Batting 3rd, Keith Hernandez. Catcher, Gary Carter, hitting 4th. Darryl Strawberry in right field, batting 5th. Kevin McReynolds, newly acquired from San Diego, batting 6th and playing left. 3rd baseman Howard Johnson hitting 7th. Shortstop Rafael Santana batting 8th. And Bobby Ojeda batting 9th.
And the defense, Bream at first, Ray at second, Belliard at short, Morrison at 3rd. Bonilla, Bonds, and Van Slyke in the outfield left to right. The catcher, Junior Ortiz, and Patterson on the mound. The leadoff batter for the Mets will be Mookie Wilson. Mookie hit .289 last year with 9 home runs, 45 RBIs. This spring, a wonderful spring, earned him a starting job in center field. Batted .390 with 2 home runs, 7 runs batted in. Of course, his competition for center field, Len Dykstra, and Len hit only .190 this spring with no home runs and 3 runs batted in. Dykstra had been the #1 center fielder for the Mets after a fine year last year.
Yeah, things have kind of flip-flopped as far as Dykstra and Wilson are concerned, because Dykstra picked up the slack when Wilson was hurt last year to open the season. That rundown play in spring training, shattering Mookie's glasses. And now the reverse is true this year as Wilson is starting. Competition is healthy, so says Davey Johnson.
And the first pitch by Patterson for ball 1. Mookie with 25 stolen bases last season. And, of course, a switch hitter, better hitter from the left-hand side. 1 ball, 1 strike. Back to the middle and a base hit for Mookie.
Well, this is a cut fastball from Bob Patterson. The cut fastball distinguished from the slider, in that the pitcher puts a little pressure on the index finger and sails it in on the hands. But Mookie said, you're not getting in my kitchen.
And it brings up Tim Tuffle. Tuffle hit .247 last season with 4 home runs, 31 RBIs. This spring hit .208 with 1 home run and 4 runs batted in. Mookie a threat to run. No score in the game. And that's ball 1.
Junior Ortiz with the Pirates, as you Met fans know, has a tremendous arm, one of his strongest points. So So you can look for a hit and run here, and if Tuffle doesn't make contact, look for a strong throw by Ortiz.
You think that Ortiz will have a 4-letter word for pitch out?
Clinched hand, huh?
Clinched hand. Great story. Tom Seaver was working with Ortiz on a crossword puzzle, and clinched hand was a question. And there's a ball hit into shallow left field. Coming up in the ball is Bonilla, and he makes the catch.
Yeah, it was a 4-letter word for clinched hand. And, of course, the fist is the pitch out. And Tom showed him his fist, and Junior thought, pitch out. Looked like a catcher's interference, speaking of Junior Ortiz.
So it had to be catcher's interference. That means the catcher tipped the bat as the swing was made. Let's take a look at it.
How about this? It's going to be no time at bat. And he certainly hit the thumb, the catcher's mitt. Had that ball been a base hit, of course, the Mets would have had the option of keeping the ball in play. But since the out was made, the Mets have runners at first and second, nobody out. How about that in a hurry?
And an error charge to the catcher, and that happens when a catcher catches up too close to the hitter. So the Mets get a break on the catcher's interference, have runners at first and second, no one out, and Keith Hernandez the batter. Hernandez hit .310 last year with 13 home runs, 83 runs batted in.
Ralph, I've got to say that that's the earliest I've ever seen catcher's interference called.
Earliest in the year. First time this year.
Earliest in the history of the game, probably.
Keith Hernandez this spring hit .286. And it's in the dirt. Good play by Ortiz, Junior Ortiz, to block it and hold the runners. Wilson at second base. Tuffle at first.
When I was catching, Ralph, I had that happen at least a dozen times, and about 4 times by Pete Rose.
He does it on purpose.
He does. As a matter of fact, as you saw that nice stop by Ortiz, I think Pete is the all-time leader in hitting a catcher's glove.
Pirates had a fellow that did it pretty well, and that was Yogi Berra's son.
Dale Berra?
Dale Berra. You get that catcher up there very close to you, and you can actually do it on purpose. You can take a little longer swing and just catch that glove or part of him.
Well, Pete does it a lot and still does it a lot. With 2 strikes, he just tries to make contact, and when you just try to make contact, you're hitting the ball late in the strike zone. And you kind of drag the bat through, and with runners on base, the catcher's trying to cheat a little farther toward home plate or closer to home plate, trying to get that little extra step and a half or so to throw the runner out, and that's when it usually happens. It's foolish when it happens with no runners on base because there's no sense in staying up that close.
No real advantage. 1-2, and this ball drilled to right, but it's playable. Sliding around in the outfield is Andy Van Slyke, but he makes the catch. Mookie back to second base. Van Slyke, a fine defensive outfielder. He plays quite a few positions. He plays center and right. Also the infield, first and third.
And certainly understandable why Mookie Wilson didn't go to third base. This ball drilled to right field. Van Slyke slips a little bit, but even had Wilson been tagging up, I doubt that he would have gone because of Van Slyke's arm.
So 1 away, runners at first and second. And the batter will be Gary Carter. Carter hit .255 last year with 24 home runs, 105 RBIs to tie a Met record set by Rusty Staub. Most RBIs by any players the Mets have had in their 25-year history, 105, Rusty Staub and Gary Carter. Carter's next RBI will be his 1,000th. Wilson drawing some attention at second base. Tuffle behind him at first, 1 away. No score, just underway. And that sun has broken through, and we have blue skies up above. Little Hoagie Carmichael.
Everyone's in love. All right.
1 strike the count on Carter.
Mets hoping that it won't be a lazy river they flow down this year. Certainly wasn't last year for them.
Carter hit .259 during spring training with 1 home run, 10 runs batted in. popped up into very shallow left field. Back is Belliard, and he makes the catch. And the runners go back to their respective bases as Carter pops up.
That was a good play by Belliard as Patterson jams Carter with that cut fastball. Now look at the ball. There's really no rotation on the ball. It makes it tougher for a hitter to pick up. And that ball on Carter before he knew it.
So now 2 men out, and Darryl Strawberry the batter. Darryl hit .259 last year, 27 home runs, 93 runs batted in, had 28 stolen bases. Darryl this spring hit .242 with 2 home runs and 8 runs batted in. Led the club in stolen bases with 6. No score. Mets threatening. Bottom half of the first, 2 men away. And the breaking ball, a called strike. Patterson, only the 3rd rookie to ever start a game for the Pittsburgh Pirates, an opening day game. Ortiz comes up with a bouncing ball, holds the runners, 1-1. Mets got Ortiz for defensive purposes. And then he played for the Mets a short time, went on back to Pittsburgh. That's got him from the Pirates.
Came over in 1983, June 15th, for Marvell Wynn.
Field. It's way back there. Going, and gone. Goodbye. 3-run home run by Darryl Strawberry, and the Mets lead it 3-0. Leading by a score of 3-0 as Strawberry gets started off on grand style.
After just hitting the corner with the breaking ball, Patterson and Ortiz try to come inside to Strawberry, and he turned that fastball around in a hurry. Awesome. And
now
it was off a left-hander, too.
That's right. I was going to say that a little later, that it was off a left-hander. Of course, Strawberry's had trouble with left-hand pitching. But now the batter is Kevin McReynolds, who hit .288 last year with 26 home runs, 96 RBIs for the San Diego Padres.
Dennis D'Agostino informs us that it's the 2nd time that Strawberry has homered in his first at-bat of the season. The last time, April 2nd, against Mario Soto 2 years ago. Make that 1984 in the 8-1 Met loss. Wow.
And that one called a strike, so the count goes to 3-2 on Kevin McReynolds. McReynolds hit .254 during spring training, 1 home run, 6 runs batted in. Got off to a very slow start to spring training, but closed with a rush. Off the hands and a ground ball to third. Jim Morrison picks up the final out of the inning, but the Mets get 3 runs. On 2 hits, there was 1 error and no one left on. And the score at the end of 1, it's the Mets 3 and the Pittsburgh Pirates nothing. Now here's a word from a home run. And Strawberry having to acknowledge the crowd. And this is the bench after Patterson had thrown the home run pitch as he talks over the situation to Ortiz. The catcher called for that pitch. That was Strawberry's first home run of the year, obviously. He had 5 home runs against left-hand pitching last year and 22 against right-hand pitching. And now the Pirates take their try, and Jim Morrison bunts a perfect bunt down the left field line for a base hit. So Morrison, who had 23 home runs last year and 88 runs batted in, hitting .274, picks up a base hit on a bunt.
Well, it is just a blueprint down the third base line. No play by Johnson. And a bunt base hit for Jim Morrison.
That'll bring up Sid Bream. Bream hit .268 last season with 16 home runs, 77 runs batted in, acquired from the Dodgers. And he grounds it in the hole for a base hit. Morrison on his way to second is on. His way to third is now stopped. The throw over to third is perfect by Strawberry. Morrison would have been out by 30 feet, but fortunately, the third base coach put the stop sign up.
Diving Keith Hernandez, the ball just out of his outstretched glove, and Darryl Strawberry stopping Morrison. We've said so often on our broadcast over the past few years that an outfielder who stops a base runner is usually the most effective outfielder, not the guys necessarily that throw runners out. And that's what Strawberry then did. He stopped Morrison.
I'm amazed Morrison even had an idea about going to
third.
But
at least he drew a throw.
He sure did.
Sometimes if you draw a throw at second base, so that shortstop creeps up behind you and tags you out.
Now the batter is Rafael Belliard, and he goes after that changeup, and it's strike one.
Here's what Ralph was talking about. Morrison had his mind made up. Whoa, he picks up the coach now. Had Santana been a little closer to second base, he makes the catch and tags Morrison out.
And that throw was a bullet on one bounce to third, a perfect throw. Fourth hit off Ojeda with no one out here in the second. Mets leading 3-0. One strike count to Belliard, the eighth batter in the batting order. And again, he has a wild swing. Belliard hit .233 last year. No home runs, 31 RBIs. Sam Khalifa did quite a bit of the shortstopping last year, but he's no longer on the roster. Now ball and the count stays at strike two.
One thing we noticed more than any other thing this spring about the Mets outfield play was that Mookie Wilson is probably playing as shallow a center field as we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years.
In Washington, D.C., he played the shallowest left field I've ever seen him play, but he had to.
He had to. There's only 265 down the line.
He was only about 245 from home plate. Been trying to get him to shorten up all the time. Pop up the shallow center. Mookie has an easy play as he's right there. So Morrison back to second base. Green back to first. One away, and the pitcher, Bob Patterson, is the batter.
Bob Patterson.
That ball had a lot of height on it, and Mookie makes that play even if he's a little deeper. I'll tell you, you don't want those little dunkers from the guys who don't have a lot of power to keep dunking them in front of you, especially to center field and the opposite field, because most guys do not have good power the other way or straight away.
Mets looking for the sacrifice. They lead 3-0. Early in the ball game, top of the second. And the bunt is out to Hernandez, who has a play at third. He picks it up. So Patterson trying to sacrifice, but Keith right on top of the play and picking up the force.
Well, you wonder when and if the National League, the guys who are bunting in this league, will realize that it's the wrong thing to do to bunt it to this man. Hernandez on top of the ball, an easy play to Johnson at third. And had Johnson immediately thrown to first base, a possibility of a double play, but the hesitation lost that chance.
And, of course, the sure man is out at third with 2 men away, and a high fly ball to center. Mookie is drifting back. And Barry Bonds is out on the catch. So after back-to-back base hits with no one out, the Pirates do not score and leave 2. And the score at the end of 1.5, the Mets 3, Pittsburgh 0. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. 18th, 1950, that Pittsburgh opened up in the first night game in Major League history for opening day. Cardinals won that game by a score of 4-2 on home runs by Musial and Shangies. Staley was a winning pitcher that ball game, and Later on, to catch for the St. Louis Cardinals in their championship seasons, Tim McCarver.
Thanks a lot, Ralph. Really had to be something down on the field before the game and seeing the guys get the championship rings as you did.
Great thrill. How many of those? You got about...
Have two.
Two.
Have two. Well, and then I got one as a broadcaster for the Phillies in 1980. So this will be my 4th championship ring with 3 different organizations. I don't really know what that means.
Don't
what
let
they
them
tried
catch
to
up
tell
with
me.
you. Just keep moving, that's all.
Howard Johnson leads it off here in the second. A dramatic 3-run homer by Strawberry in the first inning, and the Mets have a 3-0 lead. Johnson, batting from the weaker right side. He's a much better left-handed hitter. Had 10 home runs last year and only 220 at-bats. So he's got some thump. Fastball inside by Bob Patterson. Popped it up. Junior Ortiz off with the mask. And he makes the catch. One away here in the second inning, and the batter Rafael Santana. Now, if you mention the Pirates, and this being their 101st opening day, 81 games on the road, certainly that doesn't favor them. And recently, they have been really running into a buzzsaw on opening day. As a matter of fact, for the 7th straight year, this year, they are opening against a defending champion or a team that's gone on to win a title.
They better check that schedule maker.
I'm telling you. Fastball inside to Santana. Rafi batted .218 last year, but he did have a good spring. Swinging the bat with a lot more authority this spring. He had .313 down in St. Petersburg. Fly ball center field. Barry Bonds makes the catch. 4 pitches, a couple outs here in the second, and the batter Bobby Ojeda.
We're talking about Bobby Ojeda never pitching an opening day game in the major leagues. Had one when he was 12 years old in a little league, but he actually did pitch on opening day in a situation that is really unusual. A doubleheader played on opening day in Baltimore, and he was with the Red Sox then.
Back end of a doubleheader back in 1982 against those Orioles. Fastball is outside.
Pittsburgh's the only team to ever play a triple header. They did that at the end of the season, making up a couple of games that they couldn't get in.
2-0 to Bobby Ojeda.
Back in 1920 on October the 2nd, they played the Cincinnati Reds in a triple header. Reds won the first game 13-4. They also won the second 7-3, and the Pirates won the third game 6-0. Game was called because of darkness.
What else? 3-0 to Bobby Ojeda. Ojeda got his first major league hit against the Pirates last year on April 22nd. Takes a strike. That was when he won his first start in the National League. 18-5 last year. There's a healthy cut. Fouls it back. 3-2 to Bobby Ojeda. 3-0. New York leading over the Pirates. A home run by Darryl Strawberry in his first at bat, driving in Mookie Wilson and Tim Tuffle. Ground ball up the middle. Belliard over to cut it off. 3 up, 3 down. Patterson has an easy inning after that 3-run first. He trails 3-0 after 2, and we'll be back after this word from Budweiser. The third with the Mets leading 3-0. And to show you how strange a game baseball is, the Mets have sent 9 hitters to the plate in 2 innings. The Pirates have sent 10 hitters to the plate, and the Mets lead it 3-0. Swing and a miss. 0-2 to Junior Ortiz.
As Earl Weaver would say, 3-run home runs. That's the way to score.
That beats that bunt, doesn't it?
That's what he says.
The home run by Strawberry in the bottom of the first, and the bunt by Bob Patterson in the top of the second by the Pirates. 1-2.
Pirates have had 2 hits. One of them a bunt. Make that 4 hits, one of them a bunt. Those bunts don't work out too well to score runs.
Not too many bunts go over the fence. 2-2 to Ortiz, who flied to right his first time up. curveball grounded sharply to short. Santana on the high hop. That ball came up nicely for Rafi. One out here in the third, and the batter, Johnny Ray.
Stepping up, the second baseman, Johnny Ray.
Rafael Santana, the steady and reliable shortstop for the Mets. He gets a Hollywood hop, just like they do it in the movies. Pittsburgh Pirates were playing here one time, and they were making the picture Odd Couple with Walter Matthau. And they wanted someone to hit into a triple play, and they went to Roberto Clemente, and he refused to do it for $1,000. He wanted more money if he was going to hit into a triple play. He says, "I'm too good to hit into a triple play." So Bill Mazeroski took over the job and did it.
And Johnny Ray just does it, drilling one down the left field line, bobbled by McReynolds, and Ray into second base. We'll see how that's scored.
Well, Johnny Ray, a fine hitter. 300 hitter last year, and a little better hitter from the left-hand side, but here he gets on that pitch by Ojeda and hits it hard into left field. He gets by the left fielder, Kevin McReynolds, and still no posting yet. Puts a runner in scoring position with one out.
So it's a double for Johnny Ray and a fastball to Bobby Bonilla. He singled to right his first time up. That's the 5th hit for the Pirates. They've yet to plate a run, however. And now they plate one. I beg your pardon. Now they put one up. It's a single to left and an error on Kevin McReynolds. It's 1-1 to Bonilla.
Bonilla had a base hit to right field, a blue pit his first time up. Ojeda now with the off-speed pitch, and you could see the changeup doing its job. Bonilla way out in front with that swing. Fooled completely by the off-speed pitch.
Bonilla, who came to the Pirates for Jose De Leon last summer, led Pittsburgh in hitting this spring. Ball 2, 2 balls and a strike to Bobby Bonilla. Strike 2, 2-2. Bonilla from New York City. He signed with Pittsburgh originally and then was selected by the White Sox in December of 1985 in the Major League Draft. Now he's back with his ball club with whom he signed right through the legs of Rafael Santana. Bonilla, an idea about going to second base. So 2 very, very costly errors back to back. Had McReynolds come up with it, Santana come up with it, the Mets would be out of the inning with the double play.
Well, it's a routine ground ball. The ball never coming up. Santana coming up too soon with that glove, not keeping it down on the ground. Here he comes up, as you see, and the ball going right underneath the glove. So 2 errors for the Mets in this inning, and the time runs at the plate.
In the person of Andy Van Slyke, he struck out his first time up. 3-0 New York leads, but the Pirates have runners at first and third and 1 out here in the 3rd inning. Swing and a miss. Andy Van Slyke had a .270 for the Cardinals last year. Breaking ball, strike 2. So Van Slyke in the hole.
Van Slyke right near the Hall of Fame. Lives in Utica, New York.
About 30 miles away or so. A little north of Cooperstown. Another curveball, grounded foul. That was a mistake, and Ojeda got away with it.
In 1984, Van Slyke hit well against the Mets, hit .347. Here he gets a good pitch to hit, but he's out in front and pulls it foul. Oh, 2 pitch.
Got him with the breaking ball. Ojeda has 2 strikeouts, both of them Andy Van Slyke.
And both in big situations with runners at first and third. Right here he throws a hard breaking curveball. He usually goes to the slower type wrap-up curve. Right there, a very good pitch. So Van Slyke has to go back and talk about it.
So Jim Morrison with a bunt base hit his first time up as the batter. Runners remaining at first and third. Now there are 2 outs. Morrison a big year last year. Fastball is high and outside.
Every chance that Morrison's had a chance to play regularly, he's done well. One time with the White Sox and last year with the Pirates.
Batted .300 back in 1981 for the White Sox. Formerly with the Philadelphia Phillies. Changeup popped up. Mookie Wilson, the center fielder, makes the catch. And on this cloudy day at Shea, Bobby Ojeda is dancing through the raindrops. He's stranded 6 through 2.5. He leads 3-0. We'll be back after this word from R.C. Cola.
Is hitting with runners at first and third the second time in this game. He's been traded to the Pirates from the St. Louis Cardinals. The pressure's on, and right here he struck out for the second time. Now here he is in the dugout after that strikeout, and that's very normal. Andy Van Slyke, a fine ball player.
He certainly is, but I think that's well taken, Ralph, that when you're traded to a new ball club, you know they don't know you. Mookie Wilson on the first pitch gets his second base hit here in the third inning. Keep hitting like that, and Mookie will never get traded.
Well, he's been rumored to be traded almost every year, but Mookie keeps showing up and keeps doing well. Second hit of the ball game for Mookie Wilson. He was aboard when Strawberry got his 3-run home run in the first.
And scored the first run of the 1987 season as we take a look at Len Dykstra. Lenny said that if he doesn't start on opening day, he will be upset. And I would imagine he's kept his word. Well, you like to play. Davey makes a comment as you see Tim Tuffle, the batter. Davey says that he thinks that's a healthy attitude when a guy wants to play. I mean, after all, it's their bread and butter.
You bet. Should be upset.
Right.
But you still have to tip your hat to Mookie, who had that great spring training and earned the job back, and now here 2 for 2 in the first game of the season.
Yeah, there's got to be understanding to go along with that competitive desire to play, but sometimes they are not a healthy tandem. Another throw to first, Wilson back in the first inning with Wilson at first base. Tuffle lifted a fly ball to Bonilla in the left, but Junior Ortiz, before he made contact with his bat with his catcher's mitt. It was catcher's interference. No time at bat for Tuffle, an error on Ortiz, and it proved very costly because Strawberry with 2 out then hit the 3-run homer. 1-0 to Tim Tuffle. Davey Johnson was not manager of the year in 1986, even though he did win the World Championship. That honor went to Hal Lanier of the Houston Astros.
Davey, the winningest manager in baseball over the last 3 years. Certainly a candidate for being the best manager in baseball, but he hasn't been selected.
There goes Wilson. Fly ball lifted to left center. Bonilla back, and he makes the catch, running into Barry Bonds in the process. Tim Tuffle gave it a ride to left center, a long out. Wilson scampering back to first, and the batter Keith Hernandez.
Tuffle just missing a home run. Tuffle with 4 last year. This ball carries well out to left center field. Bonilla, not known for being a great fielder, has a problem with it, and then runs into the surer fielder, Barry Bonds, the center fielder. Bonilla making the catch, and Mookie back to first.
So 1 out here in the third inning, and the batter Keith Hernandez. Keith hit the ball hard in the first inning. But he lined to Andy Van Slyke in right field. Keith, a good spring. He batted .286 with a couple of home runs. Tight for a ball. Jim Morrison at third base over towards second. And I'll tell you, Ralph, we have seen Hernandez drill balls down into the third base position many times, especially against a left-handed pitcher.
Well, he's playing him like a left-handed batter that would pull the ball to right, and that's anything but what Keith Hernandez does, and he's too far away from the line for Keith. Keith, of course, an outstanding hitter, and he goes the other way against left-hand pitching.
Curveball in the dirt. Nice play by Ortiz. 2-0 to Keith Hernandez.
Now with a 2-0 count, you might expect him to be a little bit further towards second because Keith might be looking for the long ball here. You have to play that position with the count. When you have a 3-2 counter or 2-strike count on Hernandez, you got to guard the other way because he hits the opposite field.
Becomes a defensive hitter. Fastball outside and low. So it's 3-0 to Keith Hernandez. 3-0 New York. We're only in the third inning. This game almost an hour old.
That's the Brooklyn Bridge, right? If you believe that, we'll sell it to you.
Bill Webb and his bridges. He's got a thing about that. 3-1 to Hernandez. Wilson back in time. Talked about whether this is a running situation over the years, Ralph, and our opinion is it's not, because you want your hitter to really sit on that one pitch. If the runner's running, it could be a distraction. 3-1 count.
Davey does run a lot on a 3-1 count.
And he's doing it this time. Drill to left field. Bonilla back. Hernandez has hit it hard 2 times and has nothing to show for it. Wilson back to first. That's a third put out for Bonilla in left field, and the batter's going to be Gary Carter.
Well, Keith has done what all players hate to see happen when you get off at the start of the season. He's hit 2 bullets, and they've both been caught.
And you and I, as hitters, know that they do not even up. You can ask Rusty Staub if they even out when he comes in to join you in the 4th inning. No way they even up. Only pitchers think they even up. Carter flied to left his first time up. Bob Cowboy Patterson on the mound.
Well, that's a record of the Mets against the Pirates last season.
Swing and a miss on the screwball. Patterson's got that little turnover changeup, similar to Ojeda.
And that swept the series against the Pirates, the last series of the season, to get to their 108 victories, the most ever in the National League, tying the Cincinnati Reds. In divisional play, that is.
Line to left, base hit for Carter. Patterson tried to come back in with a cut fastball, and Carter greeted him with a base hit to left, and here's Darryl Strawberry.
Well, here is Carter getting his first hit of the season. And he doesn't look like Spalding guy hitting that ball, but he is so strong that he just muscles the ball. Big, strong arms. Gets out of hitting position a lot with his body, gets his weight shifted up ahead of his body, but he can do it with his arms.
Darryl Strawberry did it with his arms and his body in the first inning. A 3-run homer to right center field on an 0-1 fastball. Breaking ball outside. Ralph, if you're up in a situation like this, now you've hit the fastball out of the plate, are you more inclined to look for the breaking ball away?
Well, there's a fastball that Strawberry hit, and it's a high towering drive to right center. And if I were hitting in this spot, I would think I'd never see a fastball again. I just look breaking ball.
I would too. And he got one on the first pitch. We'll see how Patterson works him in pitch 2. You
might see the fastball, but a good pitcher will show it to you, but not in the strike zone.
He just stared off the fastball and went to the breaking ball again. It's 2-0 to Strawberry.
Now you could switch, but I doubt if he'll come back with a fastball in this spot because it's a real hitter's pitch. He throws a good changeup, and this would be a good spot for a change. You ever guess changeup?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's unusual
sure did.
too. Very few people do.
He wants something away. It appeared to be a fastball, and it was low. Now, if you're Davy Johnson, do you let Strawberry hit here?
Absolutely.
Darryl looking down to Sam Perlazzo, third base coach.
Everything points to it. There are 2 men out, so you don't have a lot of outs to work with. You got a 3-0 lead. You're looking for a lot more runs, and you got a power hitter up.
Chance to put the game away. Strike on the outside corner, 3-1.
Darryl didn't look like he was going to be hitting away there. That's giving up too much to a pitcher.
Barry Jones, the young right-hander, warming now for the Pirates. 3-0 New York. 2 on, 2 out. We're in the third. Breaking ball grounded to second. Johnny Ray up with it. He throws Strawberry out. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 left for the Mets. It's 3-0 after 3. Rusty Staub joins Ralph after this word from your Lincoln Mercury dealers.
3-0, and we'd like to welcome to the booth Rusty Staub. And Rusty, those line drives for you always seem to even up. Those bloopers came in there to even up those line drives that were caught.
And all I can tell you, Ralph, is that as you see some of the astute writers following the New York Mets, in my career, all I can tell you is any good hitter, if it evens up, it must be in the second life. The good Lord must help us somewhere down the line. A lot of us do.
We all got something coming, huh? Well, we're going now to the top of the fourth. The Mets leading on Strawberry's 3-run home run, and Sid Bream, who singled on his first pitch of the year, batting for the second time. Bream had a fine year last year. Takes the first pitch, strike one. Bream hitting .268 with 16 home runs, 77 RBIs. Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And Bob Ojeda, who's been reached for 5 hits in this ball game, out in front with a 2-strike count to Sid Bream.
Last year, Bream struggled a little bit, Ralph, against left-handed pitching. Certainly jumped on that first pitch from Bobby Ojeda.
Hard smash at Tuffle. Can he get him? He can't. Well, Tuffle tried to block the ball, but it rolled too far away. That was not an easy chance, and the Mets have already made 2 errors. This could be their third.
Well, this is a line shot. Hits just in front of him and comes up on him, hits him right in the chest. When a ball's hit that hard and it comes up that high, that's an extremely difficult play.
So a runner on with no one out, and it brings up Rafael Belliard, the shortstop. Belliard flied out to center field his first time out, but they're scoring that a hit. That was a tough chance. I'd give him E for effort on that.
That ball could have killed him, man.
That's right. He got in front of it, but that's all he could do. Tough chance.
He'll definitely have a dot on his chest when he gets home tonight.
Got the president of the National League right across his chest. Art Giammardo. This could be a double play. Perfect throw to Santana. Then on to Hernandez, and Sid Bream is erased on the Mets' first double play of the year.
Well, Bobby Ojeda, a fine fielding pitcher, grabs that, gives the perfect throw to Rafael Santana, and a good turn. All those hours in spring training may be paying off, Ralph.
That was done well, and of course the key to it's a good throw by the pitcher, and there's something that's more important than that, and that's knowing who's covering. A lot of times the pitcher forgets who's covering at second and makes the throw, say, to the other man that he thought was covering, then it's a bad throw.
Keeping your composure on the mound is a big part of it. Some of the younger pitchers who really have not gained that composure kind of forget who's supposed to be there, and that's a problem.
And it does change with the pitches. This is Bob Patterson, and the ground ball for Tuff only makes a play. So in the inning, the base hit, the double play, no one left. The score at the end of 3.5. The Mets 3, the Pirates nothing. Now here's a word from New York telephone. Strawberry's 3-run home run back in the first. And for the Mets, the leadoff batter will be Kevin McReynolds.
Ralph, I think we've had a change at shortstop. Onyx Concepcion. Oh, it's just a new number, they say now. He changed numbers. He
can't do that.
That is Bellinger. He changed numbers?
Maybe he tore up his shirt when he was going in the second on that double play.
I don't know. He's got the same little thing wrapped around his arm, it seems.
At opening day, they're going to switch uniform numbers on you? Sleight of hand, huh?
Well, a couple of the Mets changed their numbers coming into this game. Sid Fernandez moving from 10 in spring training to 50.
Leading off the bottom half of the fourth inning.
That's 38. Rafael Belliard on the double play.
So he's still in his uniform and still in his position, and we're still in the fourth as the Mets come up here with Kevin McReynolds to lead off. McReynolds grounded out to third his first time up. Mets have 3 runs on 4 hits. The Pirates have no runs on 6. The Mets have made 2 errors. The Pirates have made 1. And the first pitch fouled off. The Pirates error a big part of the ball game, and it was a rather unusual error. With a runner at first, Mookie Wilson had singled to center. Tim Tuffle hit a fly ball that appeared to be out as he flied out to left, but on the swing, Junior Ortiz tipped his bat, so it was catcher's interference and error charge to the catcher. And that put runners at first and second as Tuffle got first base on that play, and then the 3-run home run by Darryl Strawberry after 2 men were out. So that has been the big play of the game so far. And there's a screwball hit down to third. Morrison fights it off and throws him out. Good play by Jim Morrison as he was sort of fighting for his life out there, trying to stay alive.
Coming around to the plate.
I'm going to get a look at Kevin McReynolds, kind of an upright stance. Out after that ball. The ball seemed down and away from him. You saw him reach for that ball a little bit. Ball sinking away from him. Kept it on the ground. Ralph, I remember at one time they used to call that a hit if there was interference by the catcher. I know when I was in school they did that because a guy that went to school with me got 7 hits one year on what is now called catcher's interference.
You were playing Catholic rules.
That's it. The Jesuits made their own rules.
That's right. Howard Johnson, the batter. Howard fouled out his first time up. There have been a lot of differences in rules over the years. One time you had 5 balls for walks instead of 4.
Howard Johnson trying to repay Morrison with a little fake bunt after Morrison dropped that bunt down on him for a base hit his first time up. Hojo gave him a little deke.
And that ball fouled over to the third base side. Pirates have lost a lot of games over the last 3 years. They have finished last 3 consecutive years. I'm hoping with this young ball club that they will get it going. They have certainly dismantled their high-paid players, sent them on the way, and have gone with younger players.
And I know one thing they've done that is definitely, I don't know if it's going to help them win any ball games, but it certainly makes their appearance on the field look a lot better. Changing from those old-style hats and batting helmets that they had. These new hats, these dark hats, it looks like it's a really quality Major League uniform again.
Yeah, they used the old 1890 uniform hats for years. Yeah. Only 2 players on the Pirates still with them that were there a few years back. Johnny Ray, who was acquired from Houston, and Robertson, the pitcher. 3-2 to Howard Johnson.
I would think at this time Pittsburgh Pirates have to look toward the future. They had some people that were very unhappy playing in Pittsburgh who were making a lot of money. They decided if they're going to be unhappy, we'll get some people who are happy to play here.
This one will be out of play. Well, let's see. Bill Matlock is gone. John Candelaria is gone. Steve Kemp is gone.
Al Holland was with this ball club,
Al
too.
Holland Rick Rhoden finally traded off.
Got rid of a ton of people.
It's a great story on Rick Rhoden. And it has to do with Tony Pena. Whitey Herzog was talking with Sid Thrift, who is the general manager of the Pirates, and he said, I want to start talking to you now because you take so much time in making deals. And he's talking about last December. He says, I might be fired by the time I make a deal for Tony Pena.
Start early.
So they finally made the deal for Pena right at the 1st of April.
Shortstop.
So Johnson picks up a walk. That puts a runner on with 1 out and brings up Rafael Santana. Whitey Herzog was talking about the fact that it took Sid Thrift 9 months to trade Rick Rhoden off the ball club, so he wasn't too sure he could make a deal for Tony Pena. Rhoden had declared last year in spring training he didn't want to stay with the Pirates, but he pitched the whole year with the Pirates last year, and then now is with the Yankees. 4-1.
There's no doubt the future is a little bit down the line for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Their organization making some major decisions, and I think right decisions, Frank. Excuse me, there's no Frank here in his booth, is there?
No, but you know, I have more people call me Frank than Ralph. Must be my honest expression, right? Round ball to short.
Honest Frank.
So Rafael Santana grounds out. He's now 0 for 2 on the play. Johnson running with a pitch, moves down to second in scoring position, and it brings up the pitcher, Bob Ojeda. Ojeda grounded out his first time up.
Bobby Ojeda spent some extra time in the batting cage as often as possible, trying to improve his ability at the plate, having been in the American League for quite a while, not having an opportunity to hit. Trying to work on his ability to help himself in these situations.
When he came to the Mets last spring, he had not hit in 8 years. The last time he'd batted had been in high school.
Bobby Ojeda got his gloves on, a little bit choked up.
He's got a little protection there for his hand, too, hasn't he?
He's got a lot of protection for his hands.
Not a bad hitter for a pitcher. You have to throw in that for a pitcher in there. But he did play first base and outfield when he was in high school. Well, that breaking ball won't make you hit.
He hasn't had too many good cuts at those good hooks. The old equalizer. Here it comes. Oh, Mom. Look what they're doing to me, Mom.
Good pickup on the ball by Junior Ortiz.
It's about the 6th or 7th time in this game that Junior Ortiz has done an outstanding job of picking the ball up in the dirt.
Good swing at the fastball there.
Yeah. He's going to have some good hacks at the heat. The infield playing extremely deep. The outfield, particularly in left and center, playing in shallow. Right fielder's giving him a little room, though, Ralph.
Oh, there's that curveball again, and that'll do it. So the strikeout ends the inning. The first strikeout for Patterson. Mets had a walk in the inning, left the runner, and the score at the end of 4. The Mets 3 and the Pirates nothing. Now here's a word from the good olds guys. Here today on opening day at Shea Stadium, the Mets leading 3-0. We're going to the top of the 5th inning. And if the ring fits, wear it. And the Mets got their World's Championship rings here today in the opening day ceremonies.
Got to be a thrilling thing. We were talking early before the game started. I wonder how many guys have that ring on the bench taking a look at it now and then.
So you don't want to let that thing get out of sight. It's pretty good honor right there. First pitch is Ojeda pitches to Barry Bonds, fouled off, strike 1. Here's a comparison of the pitchers of the two opposing pitchers today. Patterson was 60 pitches to 54 for Ojeda. Patterson wilder, as you can see. Ojeda on top of the ball game, 3-0. And Barry Bonds takes in the count 1 ball, 1 strike. Barry Bonds with 3 leadoff home runs last year, following in the footsteps of his daddy, who had 11 one season, which is the all-time record. 35 in his career. Those guys that get those leadoff home runs are sitting on that fastball, boy. You can bet on that.
Well, that certainly was not a get-on-base kind of swing. Looked like he was trying to hit that Budweiser sign out there.
He's a good prospect, this boy. His dad, Bobby Bonds, the hitting instructor for the Cleveland Indians, and the man who holds the record for the most strikeouts in a single season, 189. Boy, good breaking ball, just did miss, 2-2. Barry Bonds had a good rookie year, not a great one, but a good one. He only batted .223, but he hit with power, and he had 36 stolen bases. High fly ball to left field. Kevin McReynolds is there.
Ralph, he kind of actually has the same problem his father did. I guess his father worked a lot on his aggressiveness at the plate, but he struck out about 102 times last year. Exactly.
Then you're saying strikeouts are hereditary.
Well, I know one thing. They're running in the family.
Speaking of running, they both can run.
Now
fly.
comes to the plate, catcher.
That brings up Junior Ortiz. Ortiz 0 for 2, flat out to right, grounded out to short. Batted .336 last year, but didn't see a whole lot of action.
Bobby Bonds was in the 30-30 club. Has anybody ever been in the 40-40 club?
He
Ralph?
just missed it. He's the closest ever. He had 39 home runs and over 40 stolen bases.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's
ever done 40-40. Fellow over there in Cincinnati might do it.
Yeah.
He had a home run in the opening day game, and we're talking about Eric Davis, who had 80 stolen bases last year and a potential 40 home run hitter.
Everybody certainly feels that Darryl Strawberry could put it all together. Darryl Strawberry is a contender for that.
Two balls, now 3. Ortiz followed by Johnny Ray. Mets leading 3-0. In a very slow-paced ball game. A lot of action in this game, but not moving very quickly. And that's ball 4, and that's Ojeda's first walk. And you look for little signs like wildness to indicate tiredness. And, of course, no pitcher on the Mets staff
Second baseman.
has gone 9 innings this year.
They certainly have not, Ralph. A guy like Bobby Ojeda, the indications normally are his breaking ball is up, his fastball is up. A little inconsistent with his strikes. One batter doesn't make it, but that was not a good bat.
And the first pitch to Johnny Ray, a ball. Johnny Ray with a single to right and a single to left. Tough man to strike out.
He only struck out 2 times, Ralph, in all of spring training and over 70-something at bats.
And the fastball fouled into the stands, 1-1.
And is perennially one of the guys most difficult to strike out in the big leagues.
He was the toughest to strike out 2 years ago. And last year, he struck out only 1 time in an average of 14 at bats. He was 4th in the National League. Ozzie Smith, the toughest to strike out in the National League last year, striking out once every 22.6 at bats. Of course, what happened to him, Rusty, they moved him from a second-place spot and a first-place spot in the batting order to the 3rd, and you got to swing harder there, and you're going to strike out more. Got to get the extra base hit batting 3rd.
It'll be interesting to see how he handles that 3rd slot. Sometimes that's not so easy for a guy who is used to trying to get on base to try to become that RBI producer. But Johnny Ray is such a fine hitter, I'm sure he's going to find a way to handle it.
Right back to the mound, another chance for 2. Not a good throw, but picked up in time by Santana, and the throw on to first for the double play. So the Mets turn their second double play. Their second in the last 2 innings. No runs, a walk, no one left to score at the end of 4 1/2. The Mets 3 and the Pirates nothing. Now here's a word from Budweiser. TV will be Friday night when Sid Fernandez will be on the mound. We'll be on the air at 7:30.
The pitcher for the Atlanta Braves that night, a guy who is as a 19-year-old pitcher with the Montreal Expos, was one of the finest young pitchers. I think the best 19-year-old pitcher. I'm not saying throw. I think Dwight was outstanding as a 19-year-old, but he was the most professional 19-year-old pitcher I had ever seen since Larry Durker, who was one heck of a pitcher.
Larry Durker with the Houston Astros. And now we look at Mookie Wilson batting for the third time. Mookie has singled to center and singled to right. He has scored 1 run. The Mets leading 3-0 on Strawberry's 3-run home run in the first. And Bob Patterson with an off-speed pitch in the count 1-1.
Well, except for that one pitch to Darryl Strawberry, Bob Patterson's looked very good out here today, Ralph.
Patterson to the Hawaii last year, 9-6, and with the Pirates he was 2-3. This ball grounded foul, so it's 1-2.
In 1986, Ralph, Patterson led the Pacific Coast League in strikeouts, was third in earned run average, named a left-handed pitcher in the league. So he had an awfully fine season down in AAA.
How'd you like to be with a club that has a AAA farm club in Hawaii as Mookie gets out for the first time, now 2 for 3 as he's called out on strikes.
Bob Patterson delivering a fastball just out over the outside part of the plate, down around the knees. Excellent pitch.
So 1 away, and Tim Tuffle the batter. Tim flied out the deep left in the third. And a strike call. Tuffle.
As you see, the Mets outscored their opponents by a total of 205 runs last year.
In this ball game, they're leading 3-0. 1-1, the count to Tim Tuffle.
Did you ever play in that ballpark in Hawaii, Ralph? Have you ever seen that?
I played in the old ballpark. But the one that's on the water that floats, that's the fly ball to center field. Barry Bonds picks it up, and 2 men out, and that brings up Keith Hernandez, who's hit it hard twice and has come up empty.
It's like the good news, bad news joke. First, the good news, you're going to get a trip to Hawaii. Second, unfortunately, you're not going to be in the big leagues.
Yeah, it's a minor league city. Not as a city, it's not, but it's a minor league team. Let's put it that way. Great city, Oahu. Although when I was stationed there, I didn't think it was that great. That's changed a little bit when you're in the service there. Keith Hernandez, a .310 batter last year. The year before that, he hit .309, a consistent 300 hitter in the major leagues. And that's ball 1.
Keith Hernandez took great pride in 1986 when he hit better against left-handed pitching average-wise than he did against right-handers by a few points.
There's one that'll be in front of a fielder for a change. Keith now has hit 3 line drives, and that's his first hit. Boy, he's hit 3 bullets in this game off the left-hander.
He certainly has. That kind of a cut fastball, but it stayed out over the plate. And as you said, Ralph, he hit it extremely hard. And if that ball would have actually carried to the right fielder, that would have been a tough first day already.
I wouldn't want to be around Keith.
You might have to tell him to get his own ride home.
That brings up Gary Carter. Gary with a base hit his last time up, 1 for 2 today. Looking for his 1,000th RBI. He has 999 in his major league career. Had 105 RBIs last year to tie a Met record. And the fellow who held that record all by himself for a long time, sitting right next to me, Rusty Staub. There's the off-speed pitch down to third. Good backhand play by Jim Morrison, and he picks up the final out of the inning. So no runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left on base. And the score at the end of 5. The New York Mets 3, the Pittsburgh Pirates nothing. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover.
We are back in the booth, and our colleague Steve Zabriskie is joining us now. How you doing, Steve?
Great, Russ. Thank you very much. Who could not love opening day? Especially when it looked as if there was some chance that all that water that New York has been experiencing for the past week would continue and things would be threatened. But so far, no delays, no problems. As Bob Ojeda gets a strike on Bobby Bonilla. Bonilla with a single to right, and then he reached on an error on Santana in the third. So officially 1 for 2. 3-0 New York as we go to the top of the 6th inning. Off speed again, but this time it's low, and it's 1-1.
Steve, I don't know how the field is down on the field because I didn't walk on the field earlier today. But it certainly looks pretty from up here in the booth, and I'm sure it looks very good on the screen to you fans.
Pete Flynn and the guys have it in great shape. The only real problem that I've noticed is, as usual, there is a big puddle of water in short right field because of the manner in which they remove the tarp. The water that's on the tarp always gets dumped in right field.
That's by law. They always dump it on the right fielders.
Swing and a miss, and you saw Ojeda turn that pitch over as he is wont to do, and it's now 2-2 to Bonilla.
The famous dead fish pitch.
Boy, it is too, isn't it? And that one's low and away, so a full count.
I was talking to Ralph between innings. I just really don't know of another pitcher that seems to get people out as easily as Bobby Ojeda.
With the least amount of effort. Fastball grounded to Santana, who gets one of those room service hops. And there's one out here in the 6th inning.
Now we're going to have a little look at the Nissan scoreboard in the National League in the 3rd inning. The Cubs are ahead of the Cardinals 3-0. All the other games are at night. The Phillies in Atlanta, Dodgers in Houston, and the Padres in San Francisco tonight.
And we'll check out for the American League, although there's not much happening in the other circuit in just a little while. Andy Van Slyke's had a tough debut in a Pirate uniform. Ojeda has struck him out twice. Those are the only 2 strikeouts Ojeda has recorded so far. Both times, runners were at first and third. There's a fastball on the outside corner for strike 1, and it's 1-1. Van Slyke talking before the opener about the fact that he does not yet feel very comfortable in Pittsburgh, or at least playing for the Pirates. He probably hadn't even been to Pittsburgh yet. On a line to Strawberry, who can't come up with it. And Van Slyke, who runs very well, may try to go to third, and he will. So we'll see how it's scored as Strawberry went for the diving attempt in the wet grass, and the ball skidding under his glove. And before he could retrieve it, it will be a base hit, and Van Slyke will be at third base with a triple.
Stepping up, third baseman, Jim Morrison.
He certainly reaches out over the plate on that fastball. Everybody kind of winced a little bit here, remembering back a couple of years when Darryl Strawberry dove for a ball and really hurt his hand and wrist. Ball just getting underneath his glove. It's usually a little more difficult, Steve, when you're going across your body trying to make a catch. That's when you normally hurt yourself, hurt your hand or your wrist.
Yeah, because you have to turn that wrist over so much. Jim Morrison, 1 for 2, had a bunt base hit in the 2nd and flied to shallow center in the 3rd. Van Slyke at third with 1 out. His base hit, the 7th for the Pirates, who have yet to score. Drive, base hit to left, and the Pirates do score, as here in the 6th inning it is 3-1 as Van Slyke plates the first Pittsburgh run of the season, and Morrison picks up his first RBI.
An off-speed pitch up and out over the plate, and Morrison just jumped all over that pitch. Net infield was playing deep then, conceding a run through the middle, trying to stop some type of a rally. But Morrison hit that ball so well, carried right in the left.
Sid Bream is 2 for 2. And he takes strike 1. He singled in the 2nd and singled in the 4th. And intently studies Gene Lamont, the Pittsburgh third base coach. No balls, 1 strike. Breaking ball for strike 2.
You see a big curveball from Bobby Ojeda, the big slow one. We've talked about the 2 different curveballs he throws. That was the off-speed curveball.
And outside for ball 1, 1-2. Hernandez is semi-holding Morrison at first base, as with Bream, a left-handed pull hitter at the plate. Keith wants to be able to get back into his position as quickly as possible, and Morrison not expected to be running. So Keith will hang in between Morrison and the bag and then drop back very quickly. And Ojeda makes it a moot point as he strikes out Sid Bream, picking up his 3rd strikeout of the ball game. And Morrison at first now with 2 away for Rafael Belliard.
You're going to see that off-speed breaking ball again, thrown to appear to be a strike outside the strike zone as it crosses the plate. And Sid Bream could not hold up on his swing. That is the most frustrating thing that can happen to a left-hander against a left-hander.
As you should well know, right?
I have done it many times.
Belliard trying to bunt his way on with 2 out, fouls it back, and it's strike 1. Belliard has flied to shallow center and hit into a double play. The Mets have turned 2 double plays in the game, and both have been started by Bob Ojeda on bouncers back to the mound. Belliard hit well against the Mets last year for Pittsburgh as Morrison draws the throw. Belliard hit .296 against New York, but only .233 overall. The fastball is popped up in the infield. Santana calling for it, and on the grass takes it for the final out. But the Pirates get on the board with 1 run on 2 hits. And after 5.5 here on opening day at Shea, it's now. And we're back after this word from Nissan. He'll be working his final inning for the Pirates here in the bottom of the 6th as he is scheduled to lead off the top of the 7th in the batting order for Pittsburgh. But he has pitched very well, Russ. He's only given up 5 base hits. Although the Mets lead the ball game 3-1, Patterson has struck out 2 and walked 1 through his first 5 innings of work.
Well, that one fastball to Darryl Strawberry, as you see Straw coming up to the plate again, it was the one pitch that I'm sure he would like to take back right now. Fastball out over the plate, and Strawberry hit it a ton.
Darryl lost it for him at the base of the scoreboard over the 396 sign, accounting for all 3 New York runs back in the first inning. It came with 2 out. And Wilson and Tuffle scored ahead of Strawberry. The Pirates adding a run in the top half of this, the 6th inning, to make it 3-1 as Strawberry looks at ball 1. Darryl grounded to second his other time up. And then he pops it in the air to center field. Bonds doesn't have far to go, and there's 1 away.
That's the one pitch that Darryl Strawberry, I think, down the line is going to learn to really handle well. The curveball at him breaking across the plate. It's a good pitch to hit right here. He reaches out just a little bit. You can just watch his hands here now. He just kind of extends, and then all of a sudden he has to reach for it. A lot of times people start him off, left-handed pitchers, throwing that curveball at him over the plate for a strike, and eventually he's going to learn how to handle that ball well.
McReynolds driving one deep to right, but it's tracked down on the warning track by Andy Van Slyke. Kevin McReynolds, a notorious slow starter at the plate his first few years in the big league. Took a charge in this one.
Patterson throws him a fastball out over the plate. He goes with it, hits it extremely hard, but Van Slyke is playing him deep and cut the gap off.
So quickly 2 out here in the 6th, and the batter Howard Johnson, who is 0 for 1. Hojo popped out to Ortiz in foul territory in the 2nd, and he walked in the 4th. A good fastball foul tipped into the mid of Ortiz for strike 1. Johnson, the first 3 quarters of spring training, was hot as a firecracker, and then he suffered a little hip flexor muscle injury. It's almost like a hip pointer that you might get in football, and it sort of curtailed his swing a little bit, and he tailed off statistically for the last 4th or so of spring training, and it may still be affecting him to a certain degree, if not physically, certainly in the fact that he had to be frustrated that he was getting a stroke down, and then all of a sudden had to lose it for a while.
When that, as everybody terms it, when the bell rings, everybody is always anxious to get that first hit and get that first good swing in.
And Johnson striking out to end the inning. So Patterson in his final inning of work, probably making it a strong one with 3 up and 3 down and a strikeout. After 6 here at Shea, 3-1 New York. We're back after this for Michelob. Mets trying to make it 16 out of 18 of their last opening day victories. And John Cangelosi will pinch hit for Bob Patterson, leading off the 7th inning for Pittsburgh. Cangelosi was with the Chicago White Sox last season, where he hit .235 and had 2 homers and 32 RBIs.
In spring training, he hit .273, Steve. He's known for his speed. Pretty good defensive outfielder.
Number 22, John Cangelosi.
And he's going to have his first at-bat, I imagine, in the National League right now.
That is correct. Cangelosi, a switch hitter, hitting right-handed against Ojeda. And he takes the ball outside. Cangelosi, a definite base-stealing threat if he gets on. The Pirates are down by 2 runs here in the 7th. And it's ball 2. There were those who felt that Cangelosi, after coming over to the Pirates, would be in the opening day starting lineup for Pittsburgh, but he was not. There's strike 1, 2-1.
This is about as long as any pitcher in the Mets staff has gone into the 7th inning all spring.
That's right. 6 was about the max. So I'm sure Mel Stottlemyre and David Johnson will be watching Bob Ojeda very closely. No one has been warming up in the New York bullpen as yet. And it's 3-2 now to John Cangelosi.
I'm sure that they talk a lot to Bobby Ojeda and ask him how he actually feels, because it's very difficult to tell if he's tired.
It's true. Not that type of pitcher. Right back at him, and a line drive snared for out number 1. And what an athlete Bob Ojeda is. He's already started 2 double plays and flags down this bullet.
And he throws him a good fastball out over the plate. Cangelosi stays right there with it, right back through the middle. And Bobby Ojeda just snagged it and said, thank you. It's always good when it's kind of up and away from your head a little bit.
Yes.
That one right at you when you're falling into it, that's difficult.
So Barry Bonds will bat and take strike 1. Bonds is 0 for 3. He's popped out in foul territory to Gary Carter. He flied deep to center. And his last time up in the 5th, he flied out to shallow left. 1 out and nobody on. And New York leading 3-1. Ripped down the right field line and foul. John McSherry making the call, and Barry Bonds stopping in disbelief as he thought it hit right on the line.
And I'll tell you what, that's a close call right here. Well, it looks like it might have hit just on the outside. That is such a McSherry's the umpire, John McSherry.
He made the call immediately. That was close. So it's 0-2 to Bonds.
The old game of inches. That was a game of half inches right there.
Brian Fisher now warming for the Pirates. And it's ball 1 to Bonds. Barry Jones had been up earlier when the Mets were threatening. And now Brian Fisher, the right-hander, is up. Fouled out of play, and the count remains 1-2. Barry Bonds, a very well-spoken young man who carried himself, I thought, quite nicely last year through his rookie season. And does, as you and Ralph were talking about earlier, have tremendous potential.
Sky's the limit.
2-2 now. As Bobby Ojeda works here in the 7th.
Young players like Bonds and Strawberry, and you start talking about those people.
And he rips this one down the right field line, and this one will be in there. And the ball dies, and he's going to try to go to second. Strawberry's throw cut off by Tuffle, and the throw had no chance to beat Bonds to the bag. It'll be a double with 1 out here in the 7th for Barry Bonds.
The plate, the catcher, Junior Ortiz.
Ojeda gives him a little breaking ball. Bonds reaches out for it. Hits it fairly well. As you saw when it hit the grass, it just stopped. The grass really caught that ball, threw Strawberry off stride. And Bonds went in the second with a double.
On the greens, they would say it checked up nicely. Right, Ralph?
It did look like a Ralph Kiner wedge to me.
Right up there. Snugged it right in against that flag. Checked it right up there.
As I was telling you, when you say the sky's the limit for a young man, it just depends on how much he wants to work, how much of himself he wants to give in all different facets of the game. And if they really do want to give, they can be great players.
Ortiz bunting, pops it up, but it's going to land, and Ojeda has to throw off balance and can't get it there in time to get Ortiz, who does run pretty well. And on the play, Bonds crosses over to third. So runners at first and third for Pittsburgh with one out.
Here you're going to see Junior Ortiz lay down an excellent bunt. He gets it up in the air, but that just makes it die all the more when it hits the ground. Ojeda actually makes a fine effort to try to get Junior Ortiz. As Steve said, Junior runs fairly well for a catcher. Somewhere down the line, someone feels that Howard Johnson plays a deep third base. There is no doubt that that was discussed. Morrison dumped the ball down the third base line. So did Junior Ortiz, and that was discussed before this game ever started.
And Belliard tried to bunt with two out for a base hit earlier in the ball game as well.
That's something that went amongst everybody. They discussed that in the pregame meetings.
Johnny Ray is 2 for 3, and this one's popped up and may stay in play. Nope, it's behind the dugout as Hernandez, Ojeda, and Carter are all there giving it a look, and it bounces out of the stands and back into the low first camera position. So it's 1-1 to Johnny Ray. Ray singled to right in the first, singled to left in the third, and hit into a double play in the fifth inning. Doug Sisk and Gene Walter now warming up.
I like to see things like we just saw right there with Bobby Ojeda. Bobby Ojeda was right over there at that dugout with Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter.
This is a big out right here, and he wants to get it if he can. Fastball high and away. 2-1. Ordinarily, with runners at first and third and one out in a tight ball game, you try to get a strikeout in this situation, but Johnny Ray's the wrong guy to have up there as far as the Mets are concerned. 74 plate appearances this spring. He struck out twice, and he fouls another one out of play in the count at 2-2.
You know, there's certain hitters when they get two strikes on them, you almost wish they don't get to the second strike because they're just going to make it real tough on you to strike them out. They're going to make some contact.
You saw the runners, Barry Bonds at third and Junior Ortiz at first. They represent the tying runs with one out here in the seventh inning. Fastball foul back, still 2-2.
Bobby Ojeda reached back for everything he had there. Almost snuck that ball by Johnny Ray. He was behind that pitch. But as an outstanding hitter often does, he found a way to make some contact, foul that ball off,
and not put it in play where he could make it out. The Pirates have managed 10 hits so far, but only one run. 3-2 now as it's high. And with one out, we'll see if they put Ortiz in motion at first base.
Well, with Johnny Ray as a hitter, if they don't, I'll be very surprised. He's got to move on this play. The defense should be aware of that, too.
Exactly.
Because if it's a slow hit ball, they should maybe, if they have the opportunity, get the guy out at the plate.
The runner was not going as Ortiz broke after contact was made. And the ball fouled off, so the count remains 3-2. I am, as you, Russ, amazingly surprised Ortiz was not running with the pitch.
Well, he might have just wanted to make sure that he was going to the plate. Junior's not a real experienced base runner. And I think he was probably with that left-handed move that Bobby Ojeda has to first base, being very conservative.
Three and two with one out, and runners at first and third. Ortiz now breaks, and it's a hard hit ball to second. Santana completes it, and they turn the double play. Tuffle to Santana to Hernandez, and once again, with runners at first and third, the Pirates are turned away. As after 6.5, New York and Bobby Ojeda still lead the Pirates here on opening day 3-1. Now here's a word from American Express.
Saturday and Sunday, April 11th and 12th, it'll be Snapper Calendar Weekend. All fans both days will receive a full-color 1987 team calendar featuring memorable moments of the Mets' 1986 championship season. The calendar also includes a full-color pull-out team poster of the 1986 World Champions, all courtesy of Snapper Lawn and Garden Equipment. Again, tickets are available at all Ticketron outlets, Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or call 718-507-TIXX for more information. Don't forget, it's Snapper Calendar Weekend, Saturday and Sunday, April 11th and 12th.
Brian Fisher into the game, who was, of course, with the New York Yankees last season, and you see his numbers with the Yanks in '86. So Bob Patterson pitches 6 innings, gives up 3 runs, all earned on 5 hits. He struck out 3 and walked 1. And let's go back, Russ, and look at that great double play as that ball was another rocket right at Tim Tuffle.
Well, that's all you can do is hope when you have a fine hitter like Johnny Ray. Tuffle gives a good delivery to Santana, that good backhand feed on a ball like that when a guy is running. That's just an outstanding play on both parts.
That was the 3rd double play that the Mets have turned this afternoon, and the Pirates continue to be turned away as they have now left a total of 8 men on base. Santana grounds one to shortstop Rafael Belliard, who throws out the other Rafael, and there's one out in the bottom of the 7th for New York. And Len Dykstra is out to pinch hit for Bob Ojeda, who goes 7 here in his first start of the season. And Dykstra gets a well-deserved round of applause, even though he had a very tough spring.
He certainly did, Steve. He was disappointed in not being able to start this game. Mookie Wilson certainly earned the right to be out in center field. Lenny's going to get a chance to play a lot of baseball in 1987. And I'm sure he is eager to prove that there's a reason why.
And Len takes the ball low and inside. Coming off an outstanding year last year, and of course, a tremendous postseason for the Mets. Dykstra never was able to get it going this spring offensively. He hit 190 in spring training. And squared the bunt, but took it for a strike.
Lenny had a couple of those nagging little injuries during the spring training period. Had a little something with his chest. As there you see Jesse Orosco, who is going to be coming in to pitch for the New York Mets.
And he takes a fastball right in there for strike 2. 2-2 now to Len Dykstra, pinch hitting for Bob Ojeda. 1 out and nobody on here in the 7th, and the Mets still leading the Pirates 3-1.
Brian Fisher in spring training gave up 4 home runs.
But on the ground to short, Belliard scoops it up, and there are 2 away.
Here's the Mets.
And that'll bring up Mookie Wilson.
Mookie Wilson.
Mookie 2 for 3, a single to center and a run scored in the 1st, a single to right in the 3rd, and he struck out looking in the 5th inning against Patterson. So he will swing around now to the left side for the first time today against Fisher. And a ball outside.
I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've seen 2 guys on the same ball club vying for the same job being loved so much by the fans. Equally, you know.
1-1. Yeah, there are a lot of mixed emotions, I'm sure, among the fans as to who they prefer to see out there in center field. But if Davey continues to platoon and both are able to produce, everybody will be happy.
That's the name of the game, production.
2-1. And another good fastball, and it's 2-2. Wally Backman on deck. The pinch hit for Tim Tuffle should Wilson get aboard. 3-2 now with 2 out.
I think even if Mookie makes an out, Davey's going to make the switch, and he'll flip-flop a little bit and let Wally Backman go into the game defensively.
Patterson, with good heat, strikes out Wilson to end the inning. A 1-2-3 inning for him. Fisher, it is, and not Patterson. So we've completed 7 here on opening day at Shea, and the Mets are out in front, 3-1. We're back after this for AT&T. Remains in the game in center field, replacing Mookie Wilson. And Wally Backman does in fact come in to replace Tim Tuffle at second base. And on the mound, Jesse Orosco, who will bat first in the batting order. Jesse last year 8-6 with 21 saves and a 2.33 ERA for New York. In his 6th year in the big leagues, after Bobby Ojeda pitches the first 7 and gives up just 1 run on 10 hits. He struck out 3 and he walked 1. And as we go to the 8th inning with the Mets leading 3-1, back in again, Tim McCarver.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Orosco last year against Pittsburgh was 2-0 in 6 games. He had 3 saves. So in all but 1 game, he had a decision or a save. He was 2-0 with 3 saves in 6 ball games. He's 7-3 lifetime against the Pirates. Bobby Bonilla, the batter.
Well, then he and Ojeda are a pretty potent combination against Pittsburgh, because Ojeda, coming into today, 4-0 with a 0.68 ERA against the Bucks.
He dominated Pittsburgh last year, as did the Mets, winning 17 of 18. Bonilla 1 for 3. He's been on base a couple of times. Single to right in the first, on an error, and he struck out. And he takes ball 1. Fly ball right field. Easy play for Strawberry. And he one-hands it for the out. 1 away here in the 8th, and the batter will be Andy Van Slyke.
Coming around to the plate, right fielder Andy
Van Slyke struck out twice his first 2 times up. Runners at first and third each time, and then he tripled with nobody on. So had Andy chosen that triple, either of his first 2 at-bats, this game would have been tied. If butterflies had legs instead of wings, they'd be butterwalkers, right?
I guess. Well, Van Slyke continuing to struggle against left-handed pitching.
Batted only 195 last year with the Cardinals. Batted 304 as a left-handed batter against right-handed pitching. 109-point difference. Fastball is low. 1-2 to Andy Van Slyke.
And as with Darryl Strawberry, Van Slyke really has a problem with the breaking ball from left-handers. You saw in the first pitch from Orosco, his knees buckle a little bit.
The quick breaking ball, the better of the 2 breaking balls to throw left-handed pitcher to left-handed hitter. And the reason for that is most left-handed hitters are low ball hitters. And low ball hitters can double crank on the breaking ball, the slower breaking ball. Struck him out for the 3rd time today. Van Slyke goes down on strikes. There are 2 outs and nobody on.
Now batting, 3rd baseman.
Good high heat from Orosco, and Van Slyke obviously has to be concerned about the breaking ball, and Orosco able to come back and blow him away.
Jim Morrison, the batter. By the double crank, I mean that you can adjust to the breaking ball. The fast one's on top of you so quickly that there's no time for the left-handed hitter to adjust as Morrison takes a strike. 3-1 New York. The Mets with only 5 hits, but they made 1 of them count. 0-2 to Morrison, and Orosco looks sharp.
And when you talk about those 2 types of breaking balls, Jesse has them. He has that sweeper, and then that much sharper break that is also very effective for Jesse against right-handed hitters.
Breaking ball just misses. He calls both pitches his slider. But the difference is he's more on top of the ball that goes down and more sidearm on the ball that's a sweeping breaking ball. There's the curveball, grounded foul. Curveball in effect.
Somebody's scorecard.
That's too neat to be Bill Webb's.
Got that right. Too neat to be mine, too. Yeah, Bill points out all the names are spelled right, so it can't be mine either. I'm having a tough time with block printing is all I'm getting past.
It's like he took something off the fastball. It's 2-2 to Jim Morrison. Nobody on. 2 outs. We're in the top of the 8th inning. The Mets on a 3-run homer by Darryl Strawberry in the first inning took a 3-0 lead. Breaking ball high. And then the Pirates plated 1 run in the top of the 6th on a single by Jim Morrison. It's 3-2 to Jim now. Grounded sharply toward Johnson. He'll have to recover in a hurry, and he does. Ball hit very sharply, played nicely by Johnson. A quick, easy inning for Orosco. 3 up, 3 down. After 7.5, it's 3-1 New York. We go to the middle of the 8th after this word from Nissan. Well, Wally Backman leads it off in the bottom of the 8th, and a nice play by Howard Johnson into the top of the 8th.
Well, this is something that you've talked about before, Timmy. When you play first or third, particularly third and second, too, you can balk a ball and knock it down and still have time to recover and make the play. An advantage, obviously, a shortstop doesn't have. And Howard Johnson played that hard smash appropriately and stayed with it nicely.
And the Pirates unusually have a new pitcher, and it's a left-hander, John Smiley. And this is really, when you think about it, not a bad move by Jim Leland, the manager, because he's got to hold the Mets down in this inning. And with the left-hander, well, first of all, the switch hitter Backman, and then Hernandez as Backman grounds right side. Bream, easy play, 1 out.
Well, with the right-handed pitcher, Brian Fisher coming in the 7th inning, Davey Johnson making the appropriate changes, so Jim Leland countering after Fisher pitched a good inning, a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout. And with the lineup that the Mets have now, and of course Backman and Hernandez coming up, he goes back and gets left-hander John Sally, who was at Prince William last year. He was 2-4 there, and he was 1-0 with the Pirates. And I like that.
Yeah, it's really an excellent managerial move because of the fact that you've got to hold the Mets down anyway right now to give you a chance. And it's early in the season. You're not really concerned about your pitching staff, but it is very rare for a manager to make a move with a short reliever without having to use a pinch hitter in the process. 1-1 to Hernandez. Keith 1 for 3. He has hit 3 rockets all day. Could very easily be 3 for 3. He lined to right, lined to left, and lined to single to right his 3rd time up. Good cut. Fouls it back 1-2.
And unless the Pirates have made some kind of a double switch out there that we haven't noticed, it's even more unusual because the pitcher's scheduled up 3rd the next inning for Pittsburgh.
That's right. Well, I think it's quite evident from Jim Leland's way of thinking. It's a pretty sound way of thinking. And he's just made the pitching change without using a pinch hitter. He's concerned about defense and pitching as Hernandez rips one to left center for a double.
Well, Keith really in a groove. He has hit 4 balls now very hard, and you see Bonds and Bonilla both chasing this ball. Barry can't get there, and again it checks up nicely on the warning track as the ground is soft out there. And Hernandez, who lined out his first 2 times up, now has a single and a double as Dave Cone and Terry Leach start warming for New York.
Both right-handers obviously just getting their throwing in right now because Jesse Orosco appears to be in full control in relief of Bobby Ojeda. Gary Carter, 1 for 3, a line drive, base hit, center field. Hernandez is going to try to score. Bonds with a good arm. Out at home. Hernandez is going to argue that he missed him, but Billy Williams, the home plate umpire, called Keith Hernandez out. 2 outs.
The throw is up the line toward third, and it makes it an awkward play for Hernandez. He's not sure if there's going to be a collision or not, and in trying to avoid Junior Ortiz at the last minute and crossing the plate, Keith looked as if he might have stumbled a little bit. But did Ortiz make the tag? I don't think so.
If he did, he just nicked him on the seat of the pants.
Followed through nicely to get the call from Billy Williams anyway.
So Hernandez, after doubling, is thrown out by Barry Bonds on a fine throw. Darryl Strawberry takes the first pitch for a ball. It was Strawberry's 3-run homer in the first inning. That's the difference in this game. 3-1 New York. Ball 2. Pirates have Logan Easley warming up in the bullpen. Should Strawberry get on there, Jim Leland may make a move with McReynolds on deck. Johnny Ray an easy chance, and he throws out Strawberry. So the Mets threatened but failed to score. They had a couple of hits. Hernandez thrown out at home. After 8, they lead 3-1, and we'll be back after this word from the good olds guys.
Well, Keith Hernandez thrown out at the plate on a fine, strong throw by center fielder Barry Bonds. But Junior Ortiz really makes this play. It's not an easy ball to handle, and of course, Hernandez was bearing down on him. Junior may or may not have tagged him, but he came up with the play, and Hernandez trying to avoid contact. Ortiz made it look as if he made the tag anyway and turned right around to Billy Williams and showed him the ball.
I think you brought up an excellent point. Hernandez coming in, and a tough hop for Ortiz to handle. Anytime you see a catcher making that tag with the glove hand, it's not designed for that, but once he does it, he likes to tell everybody about it. That's what Junior's doing now. So that was a great play, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd call that the Matador play.
Yeah, ole.
Ole. Whether or not he tagged him became a moot point, and he did make a fine play to get the call. And, of course, had he not come up with the ball, there would have been no question about it. So Sid Bream will lead off the 9th inning for Pittsburgh. Still 3-1 New York. The Mets scored their 3 way back in the first on Darryl Strawberry's home run, and the Pirates added 1 in the 6th. Bream in the ball game 2 for 3 with a couple of singles. He struck out his last time up, and he's facing Orosco for the first time. And that sweeper is low and away, ball 1. Steve Zabriskie, Tim McCarver, Ralph Kiner, and Rusty Staub proud to be back with you and bringing you Mets baseball once again here on opening day. A rocket through the middle that ricochets off the top of the mound, and Bream now 3 for 4. His 3rd single. And Onyx Concepcion is going to pinch hit for Rafael Belliard with Bream at first and nobody out here in the 9th.
Your attention, please.
At base hit the first
for shortstop
off Jesse Orosco, who had a 1-2-3 inning in the 8th.
Concepcion, formerly with the Kansas City Royals, hit .284 at Omaha, the AAA affiliate of Kansas City last year, and he signed as a free agent in February of this year.
And he is no relation to Davey Concepcion of the Reds. Popped up foul and out of play down the right field line for strike 1.
Do you know that Concepcion played 108 games for the world champion Kansas City Royals just 2 years ago in 1985?
I remember that he was with the big club, but I didn't realize he played that many games.
108 games. That's because Buddy Biancalana stole all his thunder because of David Letterman.
That's true. Letterman was running a campaign to get Biancalana in there. This may fall in, and it does in front of Strawberry. Bream holding up at second. And so the Pirates here in the 9th inning have something going with runners at first and second and nobody out. And yet another pinch hitter striding to the plate in the person of strong Mike Diaz. We will now go down and talk to Gene Lamont, the third base coach.
You kind of wonder what he's talking about. I doubt seriously that Diaz is up there to bunt. However, this goes back to Jim Leland's insertion of John Smiley in the bottom of the 8th inning to try to hold the Mets down. Maybe Leland will bunt to tie with Barry Bonds on deck.
But if he were going to, don't you think he'd use someone other than Diaz who has some power?
Yeah, you would. If that's the case, why would Diaz be talking to Gene Lamont? And now here comes Leland out to explain it to everybody.
Well,
probably to catch the elevator to come up here to the booth and explain all those questions.
I think Onyx Concepcion may have hurt himself.
It's the first at bat of the season. He signed as a free agent. How can he do that?
He apparently didn't loosen up.
I'm kidding, because this is tough weather to loosen up. A pinch hitter, it is tough on pinch hitters. It looks like Bill Allman may be the pinch runner for Concepcion because he represents the tying run.
And you want to be sure that you've got somebody out there that can carry the mail, as it were. So Concepcion will come out of the game. You know, when a guy goes in defensively, usually he goes down in the bullpen and he warms up and he stretches and he throws. Pinch hitters don't do that. They get in the on-deck circle and they get their upper body loose to a certain degree, but they really don't have much of a chance to loosen up their legs. And then if they have to run cold, they can pull something quite easily.
He ran cold, but not hard. He singled the right field. You could understand it if it was a close infield hit or something like that, but he didn't have to run, so he may have pulled that muscle on the swing.
Or just out of the box. Sometimes when you first shove off in an effort to get out of the box, if there's loose footing particularly, you can pop a hamstring or something.
Okay.
But you're right, he didn't have to bust it down to first. So he has been replaced at first by Bill Allman, and Mike Diaz with good power as the batter. And a fastball low and inside, ball 1. Diaz hit .268, 12 homers and 36 RBIs for the Pirates last year, as you look at second-year manager Jim Leland. Nobody out with runners at first and second. And it's 1-1. Orosco trying to save it for Bob Ojeda, as Ojeda went the first 7. Don Robinson, one of only 2 Pirates left since 1982, along with Johnny Ray warming up. Diaz with a high fly ball into left. McReynolds calling off Dykstra. Settles under it, and there's one away. So the runners remain at first and second. Allman at first.
Pittsburgh
Graham at second. And the leadoff batter, Barry Bonds, will be the hitter. Bonds 1 for 4, double to right his last time up.
And you may be thinking at home, why didn't Diaz bunt? It's just not good percentages to bunt 2 runners over to try to tie the game, and the base hit to tie the game would have to come from a left-hander, Barry Bonds, hitting against the left-handed Orosco. So your real percentages are with having Diaz swing away. He did, just didn't work.
You especially wouldn't want to do that on the road either, Timmy.
That's right.
Because there's no sense playing for a tie on the road with the home team having the last at bat here in the 9th inning. Just outside, ball 1.
Yeah, if Diaz makes an out, I mean, you're not out of the inning. Barry Bonds could very easily get a base hit and put him right back in there, but that's a bad play there.
Bonds coming up on the ball, and an effort to bunt took it for ball 2.
No percentages in bunting if Diaz didn't. Barry Bonds, you got those guys out there that represent the tying run. In my opinion, you go to swinging away.
You're not bunting with nobody out. You're not bunting with 1 out. A little bit high, and it's 3-0. First and second and 1 out. A 3-1 New York lead in the top of the 9th inning. And a 3-0 count to Barry Bonds. Ball 4. The bases are loaded. And now the tying run is in scoring position, and a potential go-ahead run for the Pirates is on base. There's still only 1 out.
Catcher.
And the batter now, Junior Ortiz, who is 1 for 3 plus a walk. Ortiz with a bunt base hit his last time up in the 7th inning. Grounded foul for strike one.
There's some major league hitters where you've got to make them, if you're an outfielder, make them hit the ball over your head. And Junior Ortiz is one guy. In 4 major league seasons, he has 1 home run. Met outfield in center and right, not real deep, but probably too deep.
Probably particularly Strawberry and right, because Ortiz has a tendency, as you pointed out earlier, Timmy, to more often than not hit the ball the other way.
With not a lot of power.
Off the end of the bat, a tough nubber, and Orosco floats it in the foul territory, then throws it away. Backman backing up on the play. Bream scoring from third to make it 3-2 New York, and the bases are still loaded, still with 1 out.
Well, Orosco really tried to rush this play. I think he was going to try to pick it up and then tag Ortiz at the same time, and you got to catch it first. The ball eventually hitting Ortiz, and the throw errant anyway. Little nubber out in front of the plate. We'll see how they score it. Is it an error?
I think it's an error. I don't think they've scored it yet. If Orosco fields the ball cleanly, he at least should be able to tag Ortiz, who was not by him at the time. So if I were scoring, I'd give him an error on the play, but they haven't posted anything as yet. They have scored it a base hit. So it apparently will be an infield base hit and an RBI for Ortiz. Time called now as the runner at second base, Barry Bonds, has a problem with his shoe, apparently, and has to come into the dugout.
Here's the play again, a little short hop, and you can see Orosco looking up. He wanted to tag Junior Ortiz, but he really had plenty of time to stop and either tag him or throw it to Hernandez. But sometimes when you're trying to field like that, field the ball like that, you really don't know where on the down the line you really are. You think you're maybe too close to first base to do everything, and you think you have to make all of the moves with one motion. Pick it up, make the tag. I would imagine that's what Jesse was thinking then.
Well, going as a base hit and an RBI for Ortiz, the Pirates now have 13 hits in the ball game, 3 now off Orosco, and it is 3-2. And now Johnny Ray, who singled his first 2 times up and grounded into double plays his last 2 times up, 2 for 4. Popped up behind second. Backman squeezes it 2 away. And a big out for Jesse Orosco and the Mets.
Well, I'll tell you, you never know how this game's going to end up. But the last 2 times Johnny Ray has been up, he's had a man on third base and less than 2 outs. And of all the guys in the National League, he's one of the guys, maybe the main guy, that you'd want up in a situation like that because he's not going to strike out. He's got good speed. And here today, he's grounded into 2 double plays and now stranded a runner at third.
He made contact, but to no avail.
Right.
Now the crowd gets up. As with 2 out here in the 9th and a 1-run ball game, and the bases loaded, Jesse Orosco works to Bobby Bonilla, who's 1 for 4. Ground ball to second. Backman waiting to Hernandez, and the Mets win again on opening day. The Mets have won 16 of their last 18 opening day affairs and are now 16-10 on opening day throughout their history. After winning 108 games during the regular season in '86. They start off on a winning note again with a 3-2 victory over the Pirates here at Shea this afternoon before another sellout crowd. And here's how it ended.
You know, it's not how you make the outs, or it's not if you make an out, it's how you make it and when you make it. Had Johnny Ray hit a ball like that, it'd have been a tie ball game because you're not going to double him up. Bonilla hit it and the game's over.
Here's Davies' reaction in the dugout. got this one in the bag, although it was touchy. And Jim Leland back to the water cooler for how many times?
Well, we've said so often that managers always get a drink when they're least thirsty.
The Pirates leave a bunch on, and the New York Mets, although they give up 13 hits, come away with the victory. Tim and I'll be right back to wrap it up. And, of course, following the wrap-up, the inaugural 1987 edition of Kiner's Corner. So stay with us. The Mets winning again on opening day, beating the Pirates 3-2. And we're back after this for the Bell Atlantic Yellow Pages.